welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows, or as I call him, Papa Meadows.
Papa Meadows. I am a papa.
He's here. He's officially Papa Meadows now. Oh man.
What a journey is what I can say.
I'm sure. I have to imagine.
What a journey. It got a lot in the catching up section. It's been, I took 2 weeks off to introduce Bennett, who is my son, to the world and get him.
Are you tearing up? Are you tearing up right now? Yeah, I saw a tear roll. I saw him get a little choked up when he said "my son."
Yeah, the times they are changing, but it's exciting times. It's definitely a lot of fun. It's been a really interesting couple of weeks. Some ups and some downs, but not terrible downs. Mm-hmm. Nothing that we couldn't overcome, and we've overcome all the downs. So, it's been a wild ride, and I expect it's not going to stop. So, here we are, man.
Here we are. Crazy, man. We're getting old, but in a good way now. In a good way, right? You know,
that's right. The best is yet to come.
Bringing people into the world. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many things to say right now. I'm going to try to do them as quickly and as possible, and we'll move on from that point. But first of all, congratulations. Obviously, is one of the biggest things I think needs to be said. Very, very happy for you and Sarah bringing in a healthy baby boy into this world, little baby B. It's just awesome. It's just so exciting. I'm so happy for you guys. And if anyone follows us on social media that listens to us, they would have had a sneak peek. Not really a sneak peek, but just a picture of Bennett that they could see.
Debut.
Yeah, exactly. The family got bigger, as it turns out. So I think that's the way I put it. So it's very, very exciting. We haven't recorded in, I guess, at least a couple weeks. So it was fortuitous that I basically put a little tag at the end of our Evil Dead episode, basically being like, we're probably going to cover Fast and the Furious, but like also who knows, this baby's coming any day. And indeed, that baby did come, I think maybe a few days from that point. It was a pretty fast evolving process.
2 or 3 days after. Yeah. I think
we recorded on about week earlier than his expected due date and stuff, but not to rob you of all the details. You'll certainly be able to tell the whole story when we get to it later and catching up. And
you won't want to miss that. Yeah. Stick around.
you definitely want to stick around for that. But yeah, basically we're you've established at least hopefully some level of normalcy. You've had a little bit of time to spend at home with the baby, and now we have an opportunity to talk about some things. So what we're doing for this episode, we've got a lot planned. Obviously, catching up is going to be a big thing. We're going to everyone wants to hear about baby B. It's all about him, but we do have other things we'll talk about as well.
Got to talk about family.
We got to talk about family. It's a real family sort of episode is really what it is, whether it's
full circle.
La Familia, whether it's the Spider family, whether it's your family. These are all sorts of things that we're going to talk about on this episode, because we are not going to do a full episode on Fast X, because just quite frankly, we just can't cover everything, especially now. Things are tumultuous, time is limited and stuff like that. We have to prioritize based on how we think maybe we should prioritize. And so we are going to do a little side coverage of Fast X, but it's not going to be the main content for the episode. That will be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is, a big deal, making lots of money, getting really good reviews and stuff like that. And we're actually going to bring in the Marvel expert, Mr. Henrique Jaime, a little bit later. When we do get around to talking about the movie, he's going to come join us, and we're going to talk about it. He'll hang out with us for catching up, so he'll get to hear all about Baby B as well. We just got a lot. So, I mean, I guess I say all that to say, strap in, get in your car seat, whatever the case, your stroller, whatever would be appropriate to say related to babies here, because we got a lot going on here. And so I think I have a fun fact about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to reserve that for later for two reasons. The one, which is the small reason, is it's a mild spoiler, and so I think maybe it is best saved to preserve all surprises and reveals for that movie. But number two, there is just no more fun fact than Andrew is now a dad. I mean, that is the most fun fact of all, and nothing I could say about any movie, any TV show, anything could ever top that, and it's just such an awesome thing. I'm excited for you. I'm not getting baby fever. I want to make that clear. Anna and I have talked about this. We're not there yet. Give us a few years probably, but we're happy for you. I know it's for you it's been something I think that you've certainly been wanting and looking forward to for a long time, and all the dad stuff. I was editing the Guardians of the Galaxy episode. Got to the Drax, born to be a dad kind of line. I was just like, you know what? I could just tell. This guy's he's just fucking ready. He's ready to be a dad. Oh, and maybe I shouldn't say that word. Maybe I should keep it a little bit more children appropriate, but I'll try to restrain myself. You told me that Bennett's not in earshot, so I won't feel too bad about it if I let a nasty word slip here and there. Anyway.
Well, he can hear. He passed his hearing test, but he's in a different.
Well, that's good. That's good. But he's far enough removed and also young enough that he probably doesn't understand the significance of those words just yet. But just wait, one day he will. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some news. Now, pretty much the news that I have for this, we just have 6 trailers we're going to get through. I tried to keep news relatively light. We haven't recorded ourselves in obviously 2-3 weeks. There is certainly more news that could be talked about on this episode. But as I said, we've got a lot. And I don't want to totally bypass the news because then we just get into a deep spiral of being perpetually behind on everything. But basically, a lot of these were ones that I was planning on including on the Fast X episode that wasn't to be, that has now morphed into this. So there's a little bit of crossover in terms of, family, cars, etc., stuff like that, action, shit like that. But not everything, to be fair. So let's get into it. If you're ready, let us kick off the trailers with the official trailer that we got for an upcoming American biographical coming-of-age sports drama film directed by Neil Blomkamp called Gran Turismo, based on the racing simulation video game from PlayStation, from Sony.
Incredible.
We've talked about it, we've talked about this, in terms of, oh my God, they're making this movie. What are they thinking? What the hell is this going to be? Well, it's coming in August, and now we know what it looks like. We have seen at least a little cross section, a little sliver of Gran Turismo. So, what do you think? Are you sold? Ready to get behind the wheel of this movie? They
managed to mine a story. I mean, I don't know I don't know how good the story is, but
well, it's interesting because apparently this is actually
it's real life shit
based on a real life thing, and I was doing a little deep dive in that. I'm like, no fucking way. This is fucking horse shit. No way.
Total way?
I mean, it's fairly total way, at least from what I can tell. There was this whole thing called the GT Academy, which was really what this premise of this movie is let's take people that are really good at the Gran Turismo game and see if that translates to actually racing. It was like a TV program, I think. So this, the character that this movie centers on is a real person. It's based on a real person who kind of went through the GT Academy and came out on the other side, and it is now literally just a professional racing driver. Spoilers for the movie, although I think the trailer kind of tells you what's going on here.
Well, it's spoilers for the movie too. Maybe it's a fun fact for the movie.
Maybe.
I saw a Sizzler reel for this in front of Spider-Man.
Okay.
And he is actually one of the stunt drivers in the movie.
Oh, okay.
The actual guy, the actual kid was, yeah. So that's pretty
cool. I see. That's pretty neat. Yeah. Put that back in your back pocket. I'm going to cut it. No, I'm just kidding. I'll leave it in for this episode, but don't forget that, because that's actually that is a quintessential movie fun fact I think that you should hold on to. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? What do you think of the movie? It's Neil Blomkamp, which is totally weird. Feels like a weird thing for him to do.
Yeah, and I feel like he hasn't made something terribly compelling. I hope it's compelling.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't disagree there. I feel like it's kind of just been miss after miss since District 9.
Which was incredible. I really liked that movie.
He peaked with number 1, unfortunately, but
maybe not.
He's not dead yet, right? So
I don't know. I'm interested to see. It's a project that I'm interested to see come to fruition and see what happens. I'm intrigued.
Does it look good? I think you're dodging the question a little bit.
It looks like it could go either way.
I think that's a fair read on it. It just feels like a hard concept to pull off and be convincing, and some of the sequences where it's like kind of transitioning between like the video gamey aspects of the driving to literally driving. Like, I don't know, is that going to feel hokey?
Like it feels hokey in the trailer where he's like, oh, I know the track. I've been here 1,000 times. And like it morphs into the car. It's like, man, I really don't need that. If you want to make
it feels pretty fucking corny.
Right.
And like, yes, obviously it's, I mean, I imagine this is intended to be a not exactly a rated PG-13/R movie where, they're really like, balls to the wall with what it is. I think it's intended to be relatively family friendly, obviously, excitement of racing and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. The tone's a little weird. All of it's a little odd. Even though this is a real story, I'm still having a hard time, again, wrapping my head around it a little bit. And I'm struggling to see how compelling it's going to be, especially given that this trailer kind of lays out at least what it seems like the movie is beat for beat. So I don't know. Maybe we'll cover it. August 11th might be a little birthday present for myself. A couple days before that,
a little Gran Turismo.
Maybe.
Did you ever play Gran Turismo?
I did play Gran Turismo here and there. I'm not an avid Gran Turismo player. I think my issue with Gran Turismo, which is why I wouldn't have been a good, applicant or participant in the GT Academy, is I prefer arcade style racers versus the simulation style. So Gran Turismo was always kind of like fun, but I missed having like damage and like sometimes the car physics and like the way that they controlled pissed me off, where I wanted to just like have fun with it and not like stay in the lines and shit like that, so it was never really totally my thing. But like I think 3 or whatever the one that was on PS2 was probably the one I spent the most time with. They
always look incredible.
They do look incredible.
Games.
Yeah. So
cool
yeah,
games.
We'll see. It could be something, or it could absolutely be nothing. So,
said.
We'll see what happens with it. We will see what happens. Neil Blomkamp, man, I can't get over that. That's just such a weird fit. But hey, it's at least a paycheck for him. I guess we have to appreciate that, if nothing else.
Or whatever.
I mean, not a bad cast. David Harbour, Orlando Bloom. But all right, we should move on. August 11th, Gran Turismo. There you go. It's weird and it's happening. That's all I have to say about that. The next trailer that we have is for Taika Waititi's next project. Mr. Taika Waititi is bringing us not another Thor sequel, but Next Goal Wins, a biographical sports comedy drama. So, similar genre, a little bit more of a comedic take, focused on the American Samoa national football team playing a little soccer. It's Taika again, steering outside of the Marvel lane, going back to, some of the, his roots, I guess, more as a filmmaker than what we've seen
Marvel,
with the big, Marvel budget and stuff like that. So another really good cast here as well. Michael Fassbender, Elizabeth Moss, Will Arnett, Taika Waititi, obviously in it as well, because what's a Taika Waititi movie without him also appearing in it? In some role, in some capacity. It's coming to theaters November, later this year. What do you think? Do you think this intrigues you?
Yeah, this looks funny. This looks right up my alley. It looks funny. It looks like it's. I feel like this, not necessarily with soccer, but maybe there was a soccer movie. Wasn't there a soccer movie with the kid from Sandlot?
Yes, I think so. Yes,
where they suck and then they turn good or something.
Yeah. What is it? What is that called? I'll look it up while you say something else.
It it looks like a Taika Waititi movie, and I'm always on board for Taika Waititi. I think he's wildly creative.
Green. The big,
yes, that's it.
The poster is him getting hit in the nuts with the soccer ball, and he's playing goalie. That's an iconic poster for the record.
That's it.
I don't think I actually saw it, but I knew exactly what you were talking about when you said that. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
Disney movie. It's probably on Disney Plus.
It very well might be.
At any rate, I will say that this looks like a good movie. I'm all about it.
I agree. I think this looks really funny. I like. Look, I mean, Love and Thunder was Love and Thunder. Could have been better. Not really the direction I kind of think I wanted that story to go. But Jojo Rabbit is great. Hunt for the Wilder People is great. What We Do in the Shadows is great. And honestly, Thor Ragnarok is great. So like, Taika Waititi is more hit than miss for me, and this to me just feels like it's I don't know, it really seems like it's playing to his comedic strengths as a director, as a writer. I think it's just a really funny sounding premise of basically let's get this serious soccer coach to come coach basically the worst fucking team in the world. So I don't know, it's a really fun sort of thing that I think could make for a very entertaining, but still heartfelt kind of movie. So yeah, I'm in. I'm in on this.
It makes me curious because I mean he's a very strong writer. Did he write this?
He co-wrote it with Ian Morris, who wrote
Love and Thunder.
I think Taika co-wrote it as well. Pretty much anything he directs, I think he either exclusively writes or co-writes with someone.
Gotcha. Wonder how much studio influence was in Love and Thunder.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
because it was not his
best.
It was not.
Might have been his worst.
But yeah. I mean, it
wasn't like horrible. It wasn't like I think it just wasn't.
Usually he's pretty good at like, not reading a room because obviously he's not reading a room. But I mean, he's pretty good at pacing.
Right, it wasn't the right balance
elements,
of what it needed to be. Whereas something like this can be overtly comedic in a way that Love and Thunder kind of was that maybe shouldn't be. And that and I still think that this will still have moments of heart and moments of seriousness and bringing some sort of something into it to make it feel like more than just a big joke. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. This just, I don't know, whatever it is, maybe it's the setting, maybe it's, just, again, the premise, the subject, it just feels like a really good match for his sensibilities. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it looks very funny. Yeah. November 17th, it will make its way to theaters. And just 5 days later, November 22nd, we'll be getting the next animated film from Walt Disney Animation Studios. We'll be getting some Pixar stuff as well very soon. But this is the next proper animated film from Disney, and it's called Wish. We have an official teaser for it, and I think it's got a very unique animation style.
It's incredible.
May start with that. May lead with that little talking point.
Very excited about this animation style.
Described as a combination of computer animation with Disney's classic watercolor animation. And that was the first thing that I thought was, this feels somewhere between 2D and 3D animation, and that's really cool. It's really cool to look at.
It looks like, it almost looks cel-shaded in a way.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Verse vibes to some extent, but obviously Spider-Verse is, as we'll kind of get into later in this episode, combining a million different fucking animation styles into one. This is not quite to that extreme, but shades of that.
Still very style. Like, it's really cool when you can get, and I think this is such a strong point in animation. I mean, you can, there's so many different styles and there's so much passion that gets put into these projects. Mm-hmm. I mean, something like this is just wildly different. I mean, I can't remember. I can't think of another movie that looks like this. The animation style really got me excited. And that's something I'm really finicky on when it comes to animation stuff. Like if the animation looks weird or if the art style is just not my cup of tea, it's hard for me to get into.
It's tough to get over that. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is really appealing to me. I'm real excited about it.
Yeah, and I'm expecting it to be kind of fairly standard Disney stuff in terms of the story. You know, it's a young girl, and there's a kingdom, and some magic is going to happen. You know, and there's a talking animal. Like it kind of feels like it's hitting the usual hallmarks of what you'd expect a Disney movie to be in terms of setting, in terms of story, characters, and stuff like that. Not in a bad way, I won't say, but just in a way that, you know, if you can just have a really solid base of using some of these familiar elements, but having it, you know, around a really interesting story, or at least an interesting enough story, you bring it to life with animation like this, you're in business. You know, I mean,
yeah.
Seems like it could be a really, really powerful combination. The music, you know, from the small snippet that we heard sounds good. It's Ariana DeBose that's playing the lead, and she's got good pipes. She sounds good. I'm excited to see that. Chris Pine is playing the king. Alan Tudyk is of course the motherfucking talking animal, because that's all he does these days.
And that's okay.
But that's okay, you know. He's got a thing, and you got to respect him for just having a thing that he just does all the time. It's a running joke, but not in a bad way. Again, so yeah. I don't know. I actually think this looks pretty cool. I'm very in on this. And to be fair, I mean, I think, like, it's not a crazy thing to be excited for a Disney animation project. They've, I think in recent years, particularly at least for me, knocked it out of the park with the Frozens, with Encanto.
It's Disney,
probably others as well. You know, they know what they're doing over there. They got a pretty good read on these things.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, not necessarily
the live action stuff is like, all right, whatever, you know, but
this is an original IP.
It's another one we didn't get to. The Little Mermaid. That's another one that's kind of fallen by the wayside in terms of things we've covered. I don't think either of us have seen it yet.
No,
but
not yet.
Anyway, relevant since talked about
why?
that.
How is this a century in the making? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That is an interesting thing because it's included in the trailer. I actually don't know what the relevance is of that. I don't know if it's
maybe it's
the animation, like bringing that to life. I really don't know. Actually, it's a good question. Seems like maybe it's a lingering question that we'll leave open ended and answer in November with a fun fact.
Boom, that sounds good.
Maybe that's what we'll do, because we don't have that much long to wait. 5 months. Okay, it's a decent amount of time.
It's not bad.
It's not too bad though.
Especially Papa time is.
It's gonna fly right by, I'm sure.
Yeah, Papa time is dilated. Like I experience time at a much more accelerated scale. So no time at all.
Yep, it'll be here tomorrow. November 22nd is tomorrow. You heard it here first, folks. But anyway, Wish is coming to cinemas, and I'm looking forward to it. Any other thoughts on that? You ready to move on? We got a few more trailers.
Yeah, keep the train going.
All right, we shall move on to the lone TV project to talk about on this episode. The third season of The Witcher is coming quite soon. We got, actually, funnily enough, in the span of time between last time we recorded and recording now, I slotted it in as an official teaser trailer, and then we got an official trailer. So I just upgraded it so we didn't have to talk about both. So we skipped over the teaser and we're just jumping straight to the official trailer, which is only like 4 or 5 days old, so it's pretty recent. So we're pretty timely with it. But we're getting season 3 in 2 volumes. It's going to be 8 episodes, I assume, split in half on June 29th and July 27th. But I think more importantly, this is it for Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia. So that's obviously a big deal. So what do you think? You watched season 2. I didn't. Are you ready to dip your toes back into the world of The Witcher?
I'm vested. The swordplay got me. Like the first half of this trailer doesn't really show a lot of swordplay, or the first little bit, and it's like if I hadn't invested 2 seasons worth, I'm hard pressed to get excited about this. Just knowing all the the
behind the scenes stuff is certainly
Exactly.
impacting your capacity to care.
But then, big old Henry Cavill swinging around his sword, doing some sword play, and cutting people's throats and stuff. I'm like, okay, it's cool shit. So I'll watch Henry Cavill do cool shit. That's it.
Yeah, I didn't watch season 2 as I mentioned, and so that kind of leaves me in the place where it's just like, is it worth my time? Knowing that they're committed to making a 4th season with Liam Hemsworth, and that's just the most unexciting thing possible. And obviously we've beaten this subject to death. I know we've talked about it a lot, but it is just fucking baffling at the same time. Every time I say it out loud, I'm just like, I cannot believe this is what they're doing. I just think the only thing that could convince me is if it feels like there's a distinct end point, come the end of season 3. And I don't know, like, how are they going to handle that?
I think they're going to milk it, because I think they're just going to keep going.
I totally think they're going to milk it. And to me, that's kind of where I'm like, nah, I'm good. If there's a way that season 3 feels like a jumping off point, maybe I can kind of treat it as like a, the seasons 1 through 3 in a vacuum, and then, whatever fan fiction they want to write for season 4 and beyond. Hey, have at it. If people watch it, you do you. But for me, it's just, I don't know. And it sucks because The Witcher is such a cool franchise. Games are super cool. The books are super cool. Henry Cavill is a fucking badass. And like, how is this where we're at with this? It's still, again, just, how did we get here? I don't think
season 1 was terrible.
No, season 1 was like, messy. The timeline stuff was confusing and not
but
great.
It was passable, But
it was passable, and I don't think I even started season 2. I think I was in the middle of rewatching season 1 with Anna, and we just kind of fell off after like 2 episodes again. And it's like, and I think it was partially because it was just like, it's hard to get excited for any of this. It's really difficult. I don't know. Again, obviously there's a lot of fans of this, but just, I don't know. The sword play, yeah, it looks pretty cool, but outside of that, it's just, I don't know.
Outside of that, there's not a lot.
I don't know that there's anything to really pull me back in. This trail, it's one of those things like, yeah, I watched this trailer, obviously not having watched season 2. I honestly don't feel like I got anything spoiled on, because it just feels like
okay,
it's just the same 3 characters, like then they're just going around to different places fighting monsters and shit. So like, okay, I don't know that I missed anything super plot consequential, at least from the looks of this. But yeah, just it, it didn't grab me. There's a version of this trailer, there's a version of this show where it feels like, oh shit, I'm really sucks. Like every time there was a new Expanse trailer, and to be fair, I still haven't gone back and watched all the Expanse, but every time there was an Expanse trailer, it was like, oh my God, I got to go back. Oh my God, and this doesn't have that same level of impact. It's just like, you know what? It's fine. And they did that fucking weird prequel series that like was apparently dog shit.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. They are already at the point of just milking this shit.
Which makes
and
it.
They're just
they're just
going to keep
driving
going
it right in the ground. It's
yes,
not good.
Pretty much.
But I am vested in the Henry Cavill train.
We should. Yeah, we could support him.
And you could tell that he was passionate about this project.
Sure.
I think he was passionate to the point where he says, I don't support the way you're making this. I'm leaving.
Yeah, this is going in a direction that I'm maybe not very happy with. I'm going to go do my own thing, aka make Warhammer 40K shit. And you know what? Good for you, dude. You're not gonna be Superman anymore, but hey, you can go be big Warhammer guy. That's fucking rad. So
if I was as big as Henry Cavill, I'd try to be a Warhammer guy too. That sounds appropriate.
That's right.
But
right.
yeah, that's all right.
That's well,
The Witcher.
2 volumes of The Witcher. They're pulling a Stranger Things in terms of the release schedule for some reason. But again, maybe it just goes to the milking conversation, I suppose. So June and July. By the end of July, you'll have all 8 episodes of the 3rd season, and then for some folks, maybe yourself, that might be it for The Witcher. At least in terms of this iteration. So there you have it. Now we have 2 more trailers, and the second to last one. An upcoming science fiction action thriller from Rogue One director Gareth Edwards. Kind of an out-of-nowhere trailer, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie called The Creator. No idea what this was until the trailer just kind of shadow dropped out of nowhere. It's coming in September, so it's 3 months away. John David Washington, Jimmy Chan, Ken Watanabe. This this looks pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I am 140% on it. Definitely right up my lane. AI stuff and robots and a war with robots and what does it mean to be human. I think it's probably a story that's been told 1,000,001 times. Definitely a cool story to be telling though. And especially with like this tone, it's kind of got like a, I don't know. It's not like dystopian. But the robots
but like a
look
cool futuristic kind of, thing.
Like,
yeah.
It looks like a lived in world.
Yes, I mean, just the actual design of everything feels, I don't know, authentic and real and kind of grounded in a, I don't know,
in a science fiction-y way. Yeah,
yeah. There's a version of this movie that's probably a cheap looking piece of shit, and this, if nothing else, looks good. Looks really, really, really well done in terms of how they're doing it. Oh, there we go. I figured out why. Greg Fraser, cinematographer. Fresh off Dune, fresh off the Batman.
And you can, yeah. And I mean, it looks well shot, right?
Yeah.
Like
just a really interesting. I have seen the poster. I think it's a striking poster. Good use of colors. Good sci-fi robot kind of deal, and flying
just
craft
from that
and stuff.
Though, yeah,
fucking cool.
Yeah,
that's probably just a sort of screenshot from the movie. It's just like, it's the classic cinematography thing. It's like, that's a poster. That's that frame of the movie. That's a poster. That's something you put on the wall. So yeah, really good point.
It's man, it's really cool when somebody knows how to, just has vision. And I hope this movie has vision. Like I said, I think it's a story that's it's been told before, but if anything, it's much more appropriate now because, general population now has access to AI stuff, so it's pretty cool and pretty timely. I think I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I mean, it's the first thing Gareth Edwards has done since Rogue One, which is interesting. It's been 7 years since that movie, and I think that one was a little messy production-wise. I know they ended up kind of reshooting a bit of it and stuff like this, but yeah, no, I mean, what a way to kind of come back from obviously doing a Star Wars movie, and this is future stuff, but not Star Warsy at all at the same time either. But I think at least what we saw from Rogue One, he can deliver, on some really strong, powerful moments. So I just kind of, I don't know, this, I'm riding high on this one. I think it's going to be good. That's my bold prediction for the episode. I think it's going to be good. The creator,
right there with
good. So at least I hope it's going to be good. But I'm gonna stake my reputation on it. No, I'm not gonna go that far. But I do think it's gonna be good. That's my prediction. So September 29th is when we're getting this. I'll be there. I'll be there for that.
Is that this IMAX movie or Dolby?
I'm sure it's got to be. It's got to be. I mean, just visually, it just feels like, and I think September too is like what's really coming out in that month. Probably not a lot. It's probably a good space to bring something like this out because you're not going to be competing with some of the other summer heavy hitters, or then when you get into November, getting into some of the other heavy hitters as well. So that's my guess. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get a premium format release of some variety for this. Definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
But I know we're definitely getting an IMAX. Well, actually, no. I don't think we're getting an IMAX for this one. I think this was some of the controversy is Oppenheimer is going to take some IMAX screens for 2 weeks, and Tom Cruise is fucking pissed because Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is coming out July 12th. It'll definitely get a Dolby screen, I'm sure. I don't think Nolan was able to, pull his bullshit with that. But yeah.
How does Nolan, I guess, good for Nolan for outdoing Tom Cruise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he locked in the contract before Tom Cruise had an opportunity to call up the head of IMAX and be like, look, we've got this really cool movie. It's called Mission Impossible. Maybe you've heard of this franchise. He's like, nope. I have to say no, unfortunately, because Mr. Christopher Nolan just called me.
Son of a bitch.
2 weeks. I need to
We're
have
out here
a literal.
putting our lives at stake for everyone. Ugh! And you just like throw a whole tantrum.
You can just imagine it. You can hear it in your head, right? You can hear it. Oh man.
Boy.
Anyway,
who was the person that told Tom Cruise no? Could you imagine? Oh my gosh, he doesn't strike me as somebody you tell no to. You know,
you're going to be hearing from Lord Zeno in your future. Let's put it that way. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
So anyway, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1, mouthful of a title. I will say this because this is going to be a recurring theme of this episode. At least they had the common courtesy to put Part 1 in the fucking title, and let you know what's going on ahead of time. So
That's
what
true.
do you think? Are you excited for this? More MI, more Mission Impossible,
Absolutely.
more cruise missile action.
Absolutely. I feel like nobody delivers like Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
He's just consistent. I don't know. He's a special type of filmmaker. The stunts in this movie look unreal. The cinematography looks gorgeous. Who's shooting it? Do we know?
Great question. This is a new name for me, Fraser Taggart. Let's see what the man's been up to in his life.
Because it takes somebody special to capture what's going on in this.
It looks like someone who has been not a cinematographer for a while. He's worked on a lot of stuff as director, like second unit director of photography in the past, including the Mission Impossible Fallout, including Rogue One. He was part of the action unit for that.
And now he just got the job? He got the gig?
Well, in terms of his actual cinematographer credits, he's got Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2. And other than that, nothing that I could tell you anything about. Dead Fish 2005, Robot Overlords in 2014. So this is it feels like he's getting a promotion. He got in with Chris McQuarrie on Fallout maybe, and that was the way to go. He was an additional director of photography on that, and a director of photography for the helicopter sequence in New Zealand.
Wow.
So there you go. Big step up for this guy. He doesn't even have a blue link on Wikipedia. And that's why I was just like, who is this man? Who's this mystery man? Is it a pseudonym or something? But no, I think he's just getting a big break with this one. But maybe
good for him.
Looks like he's delivering from what we can tell.
Absolutely. Big sweeping panning shots. I think he's making a name for himself too. I mean, it looks like a wonderfully shot film. Real excited about this. It looks so good. There's like this 15-minute thing you can watch online I think I've talked about it every time we talk about this movie, about him jumping the motorcycle off the side of the mountain, and just the production values, Tom Cruise's insanity, it all.
I like every time he jumps off, everyone holds their breath and they're kind of just panicking internally, and they're like, "Did we kill
they
Tom
keep
Cruise?"
helicoptering it to the top. All right, let's do it again. We're gonna do it again. Dude's fucking nuts.
He's absolutely insane, and that's at least, personal life aside, why we adore him as a movie star, at least as the anchor of the Mission Impossible franchise, because this franchise would not be what it is without the insanity of Tom Cruise.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And I appreciate, he's bringing back old friends. He's bringing back Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Leggy Bay, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby. Yeah. But we get newcomers. We get Haley Atwell. That's great. Put her in more things. We get Mantis, Pom Clementieff is playing like a fucking villain in this. She looks cool as hell. And he's bringing back the OG fucking Kittredge from the first Mission Impossible movie. He's back.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's
badass.
You're staking your
yeah.
Dearly. Yeah,
he's like the old IMF director in the 96 movie. Like, hell yeah, And I think this is probably a franchise that's winding down. I don't think Tom Cruise, even though he is insane and possibly immortal, is going to do this forever. I could see that maybe these, Part 1 and Part 2, maybe that's it for Mission Impossible. Maybe. I'm not saying, never say never or whatever, but I could see this being kind of like intended to be a real last hurrah kind of deal. So, I don't know.
They're bringing back the train
it looks
sequence.
Cool. Yeah, you're getting some throwback action sequences, kind of a train deal is cool, and it just looks like a fun globe-trotting, very action-packed kind of deal, which is what you want it to be. It's going to be long as hell. It's going to be 2 hours and 43 minutes. It's already been
of Mission
announced.
Impossible.
Yeah,
oh my
and
goodness.
this is part 1. Like, what the fuck, man? Like,
non-stop. It's amazing. So cool.
Again, I'm going to get into the whole idea of, all right, part 1, part 2 kind of thing. Again, this is telling you ahead of time. This storyline may not be totally resolved by the end.
Buckle up.
And so get ready for it. But it's 2 hours and 40 minutes of stuff. Like, there's got to be a lot in there at the same time. So I don't know. I'm definitely in on this. I mean, who wouldn't be? And not long to wait at all. July 12th, about a month away.
Oh my god!
So we get Mission Impossible, not on IMAX, mind you, but at least on Dolby, probably, hopefully, definitely a Dolby adventure for me. Let's put it that way. And I think one that Baby B stuff aside, I think we can carve out time for this. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's it for the news. So
wow.
Yeah, I know. We have a pretty good time on that for us. It's pretty solid clip there. So what we're going to do now is something a little different for us. This isn't a double episode or anything like that. I think we're going to go through this next segment, quicker than usual in terms of covering something, but we're going to talk about Fast X right now. Before we get into the main content, before we talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, before we get Henrique Jaime to help us cover Spider-Verse, we're going to talk about Fast X. And we both watched it. I watched it in theaters around the time that it came out. You have watched it more recently on the home front for the comfort of your living room or wherever you happen to watch it.
Living room, yeah.
And so I think, even if it's not a movie that we need to have a whole hour-long conversation about, I think it's still worth at least saying a couple words about. So here we are. So Fast X, it's still playing in theaters, but it kind of I think it's had some pretty shaky legs, and some of it's kind of been cut out from your Little Mermaids, your Spider-Verses, Transformers, which is out now. And so they put it on VOD like 3 weeks after it came out, which worked out really well for you.
Yeah, it did.
Because
Very
that
convenient.
was maybe the right way to watch it. We'll talk about that. But yeah, let's just do a little thing. It's an appetizer for the main thing in Spider-Man, an aperitif, if you will. But yeah, let's talk a little Fast X. While it's just the two of us. While it's just the two best friends hanging out. So what'd you think about Fast X? It got a big long cast list. It's Louis Leterrier who's directing this one, taken over from Justin Lin, who jumped out of the car a weekend of shooting, said, I can't take any more Vin Diesel. I got to get out of here. It's Dom Toretto. His family is back. La Familia is back. And Jason Momoa is hot on their trail. He's gonna fuck their day up. Is kind of the plot synopsis of this. So yeah, let's just do light spoilers, general recommendation. Where are you at with Fast X? What'd you think of it?
Fast X, to me, we were talking about Mission Impossible.
Yep.
I think that someone was inspired by probably Mission Impossible 2 is what I would say. It most closely aligns with this movie. Jason Momoa.
What'd you think? I think people are eating up some Jason Momoa. People are digging him in this. It's a different flavor of Jason Momoa. You have to at least acknowledge that much.
It's a very different flavor. Yeah, very, very different flavor of Jason Momoa. Jason
Momoa. That's his new name. Yes, it's been coined. Love it.
Especially in this movie. He is definitely a Jason Momoa in this movie.
Oh, this is peak Jason Momoa.
Yeah, man, he showed up. He showed up in a big way. He's definitely eating up the spotlight, and Vinny just said, lean into it. Do whatever you want to do, man. And just as long as you act like a fucking nut.
Hey, man, you want to play the Joker? Do it. You don't get to be the Joker in the DC. You're already stuck playing that water guy. You get a chance to be the Joker in this movie.
That's
absolutely go to town. And he said, with pleasure.
Yeah. So he, he's a character.
Sure.
This movie for me was I watched this in three distinct segments.
3 acts.
I did. I watched it in the morning with my coffee, feeding Baby B his first breakfast. Not his first breakfast, but like his breakfast of the he eats multiple breakfasts. So I watched the first half with him doing the bottle, and then I propped him up so he could watch it, and he was engaged because there's a lot of visual noise going on in this movie.
It's a loud movie for sure.
And then part 2 I watched while he ate lunch and went to sleep. And then part 3 I told Sarah, I was like, listen, I got to finish this movie, and so I finished it. This is a movie that I don't feel terribly bad watching it in the 3 parts that I did. I felt like it was, I thought, yeah, I'm kind of glad I watched it in 3 parts.
Okay.
Because
it's kind of long too. It's 2 hours. It's another one. It's all right. So I guess mild spoilers here. This is also a part 1. Without getting into the super long details of that, it's also a part 1. But it's still also 2 hours and 20 minutes. And unlike the 2 hours and 40 minutes of Mission Impossible, where it's going to be like really well done actiony stuff, this is Fast and Furious. You still know what you're getting, but man, there's a lot of it here.
I didn't know I was going to get this.
Right, you didn't sign up for that.
This is a lot more than
you had to break it up.
A lot more than I thought I was going to be biting off. Man, there's just a lot. In this movie, I don't think anything's particularly well done. I think that, it's a long.
Well, how would you compare it to, like, say, F9 or even the rest of the franchise? I mean, obviously it's kind of taken a shift, to the more ridiculous shit. F9 is magnets, space, and such.
I thought F9 was pretty good. I liked F9. If I remember right, I remember liking F9.
Okay.
I really like the one with the ramp car.
I think that's 6. I think that's 6.
Was 6 pretty good? I remember that one a lot.
Fun, solid, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're all pretty fun and pretty solid movies. This is just longer than what it needs to be. I think the pacing is off. I think that. I think a lot of the humor doesn't quite land. I think that the characters are, specifically Mimosa, is just I could not like pin him down, right?
Yeah.
And it made for an awkward viewing experience. One viewed in 3 parts, and like I said, I think that's okay. I think that if I watched it in one sitting, I think that I would probably, like, if I went out and traveled to the movie theater to watch this, might be spoiling my recommendation. But I think if I went, because I would want to see it in Dolby.
Yeah, let's just do it all in one here. Yeah,
it's a big action piece movie. It's something that I think would probably benefit visually and audibly from like a larger viewing experience, which for me translates to like a 30 to 40 minute drive from the house. If I were to do that, to spend 3 hours watching this, I think I would be very disappointed. I think I would leave kind of actively, maybe a little actively upset. Not necessarily the Oprah Lettuce movie.
Wrinkle in Time. Yeah, no.
Not Wrinkle in Time, but I would have been like, damn, at least my ticket was free. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Those are 3 hours that I could have done something else.
I would not have been able to get a beer and watch this movie. I would have wished I got like a Long Island and watched this movie. 2 Long Islands.
Or a Corona. You could get a Corona.
Yeah, could get a Corona. That's true.
It's funny, as my brain was blanking, and I'm like, you could get a Cerveza, as what I wanted to say, and I'm like, that just means beer in Spanish. What's that fucking shit beer that they always drink in these fucking movies? Corona. There it is. I found it. A word that we tried to block out of our brain after 2020 happened.
Anyways, this for me was very much, it's not a pay to watch it, but this actually to me is a ranking that we it's a watch at home, but more specifically, this to me is a hotel or flight movie.
Total flight movie. Totally. Yeah,
like We Have You Captive, like, what are you gonna watch? You know what I mean? You're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. Yeah, just watch a little Fast X. You know what I mean? That's okay. So yeah, for me, it's not something that I would immediately go out and watch at home. Like, it's not, but pin me down in a hotel after dinner and a couple beers, or a couple drinks, or I'm stuck in a flight and this is on. I might watch it. So
2.5 hours gone like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I to get to my recommendation, I'll just get that out of the way. I totally agree. This is definitely a prime watch at home kind of thing. I mean, if you're like mega Fast and Furious fan, of course it's going to be enhanced by seeing it in theaters, but I think purely in terms of the quality of the film, it's nothing you haven't seen before. It's kind of more of the same for the franchise. And it's, I had fun with it. I thought it was entertaining. I thought parts of it were pretty fucking dumb, which is, again, par for the course for what you get out of these movies. I just think there's a point where, like, Fast and Furious obviously has now evolved from, not even just street racing and stuff, but, like the fun heisty bits and the fun actiony bits that were ridiculous, but at least somewhat plausible, to just, they're just secret agents now. Like, they're just the Avengers for some reason, and they work for, Nick Fury and Nick Fury's daughter in this movie, who's just Captain Marvel, who's just Brie Larson. It's the stuff like that, to me, where it has now gotten to a point where it's a little close to a bridge too far, and it kind of loses me a little bit. That said, I mean, there's enough fun stuff in this movie that, like, again, it's I don't know, I guess totally fine. Or again, just watch it at home. You can have fun with it. Absolutely crack open a beer or two, or 3 or 4 even, or make yourself a Long Island iced tea. Definitely, lubricate your brain a little bit before you sit down and try to experience a Fast X. I don't think it quite has like the same hook as, like, oh my God, magnets again, that like F9 did, or anything like that. But it's it's got the same hook as that one where they stole the vault and ran it through Brazil. Well, kind of. And it's funny because, like, the first 10 minutes of this movie are just the ending of Fast 5. So we did rewatch Fast 5 before this. Fast 5 is without a doubt the pinnacle of the franchise. It's the best. I think it's a smart idea that they tried to make a direct sequel to that. However, the amount of times where it's just like it pulls back and it's like, Jason Mimosa was there the whole time. It's like, all right, okay. All right, that's enough. That's enough out of you. Please shut the fuck up and go home. And you're drunk.
What about Agent Muscle?
Agent Muscle's there. Yep. Agent Muscle's there.
What the fuck's his deal?
Rich. What is his deal? What's anyone's deal in this fucking movie?
Yeah, that's true. That's a very valid point.
Yeah, all the agency stuff, so fucking stupid. The dialogue is all bad and cringe, and it's just like, just let it be a stupid movie where Vin Diesel flies around in cars and shit. Like, that's fine. I can deal with that. I can live with that. You made one mistake. You didn't take my car. Whatever. Like, that's great. Let me have that. Let's live in that world a little bit. I love that shit. But, look, there's some fun stuff. The Rome sequence was fun to kind of watch play out, obviously having visited Rome pretty recently.
That ball was just unstoppable.
It was an unstoppable ball of fire. You know what? And that's great.
I did
John
like the
Cena
Rocket
stuff.
Toenails. Yeah, Toenails Rocket League car was fucking cool.
Was fucking ridiculous. Oh my God, his whole shit was ridiculous in this movie. And yeah, it kind of.
The Mission Impossible 2 spinning car sequence where the kid jumps out of the car.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. It's just it's as advertised, right? There's really not much else to be said. It's right. Just it is what it is. Take it at face value. Watch it at home. Have fun with it. Have a drink or 2 or 3 or 4, as I said. And it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst of the franchise. It's not the best in the franchise. It's somewhere in the pack of literally 10 fucking movies that they've made. Literally fucking 10. But anyway, let's just do quick full spoilers for Fast X. I'll mark this, Well, you've danced around it enough. I don't think anyone that hasn't seen it is going to get it because they're mostly out of context. Just quick points on this. Gal Gadot is back. good. Bring her back. Great. Just bring everyone that's died in this franchise back. I love it. I love it for everyone. Han's back. He was a hologram or something in the last one. I have no idea how they explain how he didn't die, but great. Bring him back. Love it. Love it.
How did Gal Gadot die?
She fell out of a plane in, I think, 6. I think 6. I think 6 she fell out of a plane. But she disappeared into dust so who knows? We'll find out how she survived probably in the next one. But great. I'm glad they brought her back. It just felt like, if they're just committing to this it's comic books, everyone comes back, no one's truly dead sort of thing. Great. And especially because this whole end of the movie, again, to kind of tie into the little bit that I set up with Mission Impossible, this is Fast X Part 1. It's not titled as such, but this is the cliffhangeriest cliffhanger in terms of ending that you could have with, Dom's about to blow up with this kid, and the plane that was carrying the whole rest of the crew has crashed, and so they're theoretically dead. They're obviously not dead. Something happened. There's a bait and switch that we'll find out about in the next one. But it's a very much a oh shit kind of like trying to be Avengers Infinity War and not really being as successful, but at least they're doing something different with the franchise, I guess, and trying to make a 2-part finale. But yeah, good for them. So two kind of like quick news tack on things related to this. If you stuck around for the mid-credits scene, I don't know that you would have. I mean, to be fair, it's not like you had. No need to worry. Let me tell you about it. The Rock is back, baby. He's back as Hobbs.
No way. For real?
For real, he's back as Hobbs, and that was the mid-credits reveal, is that he's back, and guess what? He's also being targeted by Jason Momoa, and you know why? Because he fired the fatal shots into his daddy. So he's after Hobbs as well, and so there's going to be a new standalone film about Hobbs because he's still too big for his britches, and he can't appear in the same movie as Vin Diesel, and they certainly can't appear in the same frame because then it might make it look like someone's taller than the other, even though The Rock is definitely a foot taller than the Vin Diesel. There's no way that those two people could allow that to happen, so they have to stare awkwardly like past each other, but in a way that the cinematography frames it so that they both look like they're 7-foot tall mountains of men. But he's coming back for some sort of spinoff. Which is weird because it seems like it's going to be like an interquel, like it's, setting up presumably him joining the events of Fast X Part 2, but maybe not. I don't really know. But basically it's just like, yeah, I'm coming back and doing my spinoff, and we don't know when that's coming. But we do know that Fast X Part 2 is coming April 2025. So if they're going to make a real fast, Hobbs spinoff movie that's supposed to take place, connecting these two movies, they're going to have to fucking step on it pretty quick. And they're going to have to start filming it without a script because there's still a writer's strike going on. Yeah, that's still going on to tie into that. They still
haven't worked that out yet, huh?
Nope. Still going strong. You've had a kid born in the middle of the writer's strike, so crazy stuff. But anyway, yeah, Fast X Part 2 is coming in April. So like that's less than 2 years away. So maybe we'll get the resolution to it in this. Maybe the Hobbs thing is the resolution to it. I don't know, man. These movies are fucking absolutely batshit. I simultaneously adore them and think, man, these are again, like how is this allowed to be made? Like, does Vin Diesel have that much clout in Hollywood with Universal? But I don't know. I had fun with it. I will continue to watch these. Maybe if the timing works out better, we'll talk about Fast X Part 2 and maybe do a fuller deep dive on it. I think we always contemplate the idea of doing a bonus episode for the Fast and Furious franchise, but there's 10 of them.
God, like that's a lot.
That's a tough sell. And Ann and I did our full rewatch of it a couple years ago before we took the bar, and I don't think we're quite ready to go fully down that rabbit hole yet again. So that's maybe a later project.
Bonus
maybe in 2
episode
years,
on
though.
Pitch Black. I like Pitch Black.
Yeah, we could get some Vin Diesel, stuff in another way. I could dig that. So, anyway, that's all I have to say on Fast X. I think VOD is probably the way to go. Where you could wait for I don't know, some sort of streaming debut. I don't know what Universal usually goes to these days. But it's Fast X, baby.
It's a thing. Yeah.
It's totally a thing. Jason Momoa, just absolutely going for it. Good on him. We'll see more of him. We'll see more of him in Part 2. All right. Shall we pump the brakes on talking about Fast X and go full throttle into the Spider-Verse now? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Swing on in.
Let's swing into the Spider-Verse. Oh, yes, I love it. All right, let's do it. Let's swing into the Spider-Verse. And let's swing in with the help of Henrique Jaime. Welcome to the show. You know, we've been going here for a little bit, but now's a really good time for you to come in because we're swinging into the Spider-Verse. We're talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah. How are you doing?
All right, let's do this one. Well, not last time. One more time. How about that?
One more time, yeah.
One more time.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, I'm going to set up Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in just a minute, but I'm told by a little birdie, which is you before we started recording, that you had a fun fact that was not spoilerific about Across the Spider-Verse. So why don't you throw that out at the listeners right now? We're just doing things, we're throwing out the playbook for this episode. We're just doing things however they feel right, and this feels right. So what do you got?
Sure. I mean, we can, it's your podcast. You do whatever you want. You can change it up.
That's right. We make the rules.
You can do a fun fact at the end, the beginning, whatever you want. But something that's not a spoiler for the movie. So anyone that's probably even seen the trailers could probably guess that there's a lot of people that worked on this movie, and so many, in fact, that apparently they broke the record for most animators on a project. I could only see quotes of over 1,000, but I couldn't find an exact number somewhere. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, and when the DVD, Blu-ray, and all that stuff comes out, if you sit through the credits, you can count every single one. But apparently there are over 1,000 animators just for the animation alone, that worked on this movie, which is insane. But it might show.
I mean, I would say I can say I'm not surprised by that because there's a lot going on here. Certainly, plot-wise, yes, of course, but animation-wise, there's just a lot to kind of break down. So,
right.
I wonder if that's proportionate to the budget of the movie. If it broke records for the amount of animators, and it's nowhere near the budget for most expensive animated movie. What are they?
That's a good question. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I see the budget listed at $100 million for this one, and I assume that's specifically for this one and not for Beyond the Spider-Verse as well.
I would guess.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's probably not. I would imagine that's probably not that crazy expensive for an animated movie because they usually take a good sized team. But yeah, I don't know. That's really interesting to hear how many people were involved in this. And yes, I think that just the wealth of different types of things that we get to see in this movie, it kind of makes sense that they would have such a team of creatives involved with it.
And they picked out some particular people, not just to animate it, but to make sure that it looked like the comics that they originated from. So I think some people were more consultants. They didn't necessarily draw or bring in new animation to the project, but they had artists. I know specifically they mentioned Brian Stelfreeze, and I believe one of the creators of Spider-Man 2099, Rick Leonardi. And they also brought someone in for Indian Spider-Man.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that kind of worked on it a little bit. So they had, people from the comic industry, which is really cool because, they usually get credited, but it's, maybe don't get a full say or contribution to the project. But sounds like, they're very true to the source material, at least in terms of the look.
Yeah. All right, let me set up this movie. We have a lot to talk about with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and I am excited to get into it with the two of you. So, Across the Spider-Verse is playing in theaters right now exclusively. No VOD option for this one, unfortunately, at least not for a little while. The film is written by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Dave Callahan. It is directed by Joaquin Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. Stars the voices of Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, Luna Lauren Velez, Jake Johnson, Jason Schwartzman, Issa Rae, Karen Sony, Daniel Kaluuya, and Oscar Isaac. He's here. In this movie, Miles Morales catapults across the multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. But when the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles must redefine what it means to be a hero. I guess before we actually...
My hero, baby.
You should have
I don't
thrown
think that was
in.
in this movie, but
No.
I could be wrong.
It could have been in there.
It's been a little while since I've seen it, so I might have forgotten. And I've only
No,
seen
it's
it
definitely
once,
not
unlike
there.
at least one of us. I think at least one of us has seen it twice. But should we do a box office breakdown?
Oh yeah. How'd it do?
Pretty good. Pretty fucking good, actually. After less than 2 weeks of release, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has surpassed the entire box office run of its predecessor, 2018's Oscar-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So it has officially hit more than $226 million in North America alone, close to $400 million globally. It is Sony's highest-grossing animated release in history.
Damn.
Excellent.
It's second weekend. It's now been out for a couple weeks. Transformers did end up taking the second weekend or the title for Spider-Verse's second weekend, but it was a very, very close competition. So Spider-Verse tallied $55 million in its second weekend, which marked only a 55% drop from its $120 million debut, which was bigger than the likes of, I think, any of the releases that we've had this year. I think that it was the highest opening weekend of any movie this year. Let me do a quick fact check on that, but I think it was even higher than the likes of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which has had stellar legs, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest of the year. I mean, I think Mario has been kind of the juggernaut, the box office juggernaut, but I don't know if its opening was actually bigger. I think it's had some really exceptional legs. Mario might have been a hair bigger, actually, in terms of just its opening weekend. But let's just put it this way. I think Spider-Verse is certainly the highest superhero debut thus far this year. Doing exceptionally well, has clearly had good legs thus far, and only it's kind of 2 weeks out. No real surprise. I mean, the first one was hugely popular. This one has debuted to pretty good reviews, had, premium formats, to kind of help benefit its box office take and stuff like that. So yes, I think overall big success for Sony. Obviously, a sequel is already well in motion, but certainly they're not feeling bad about the idea of let's get two of these kind of cooking at the same time in terms of where they're at with stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the box office breakdown for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Still trying to fact check Super Mario Bros. See what it actually came out with.
I think it was higher. Definitely the total. Yeah.
I think Spider-Verse, or I'm sorry, I think Super Mario Bros. Has the highest opening weekend total for the year thus far, and Spider-Verse was just a tick behind it. Now,
what a year for animation.
Mario is gonna be, Mario is making stupid amounts of money in every region, everywhere. I think it'll be a tall task for anything to overtake Mario for the calendar year. But still, at the same time, there's a hell of a debut for Across the Spider-Verse. It will clean up quite nicely at the end of the day. Sony's got to be happy with it. I've probably said it. Enrique, did you? Well, when the first one came out in 2018, so this podcast did exist. Were you part of the coverage?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think so. I thought it was more definitely the MCU movies, but probably not this one.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But I think it probably should be noted. I think at the outset, all of us are big fans of the first one. Enrique, I think you're a very, very big fan of the first one, maybe the biggest of us all.
So the wall that I'm sitting in front of right now is basically a Spider-Man wall, but it's kind of Spider-Verse inspired just because of so many different characters. So the viewers can't see it, and actually y'all can see it because it's facing me. But a lot of Spidey stuff in the house.
Well,
I see a Spidey shirt.
Yeah,
he's wearing a Spider-Gwen shirt.
Oh,
that
and
exact
you have
shirt.
an awesome Spider-Man. Yes, and you have an awesome beer mug. That's also Spider-Man.
That's true. I do have a gifted Spider mug.
I was trying to break out. I thought about bringing out a Spider-Man pint glass, but I didn't have any Spider-Verse specific ones. I could have brought out my Far From Home one, but I decided not to. But I do. You guys can see it. Obviously, the listeners can't because we're not taking video of this. But I have a Miles Morales poster on one side of my head, and then I have a Spider-Verse kind of poster on the other side of my head, which I, at a quick glance, can say that I see Miles, Spider-Gwen, Scarlet Spider.
Oh yeah, I think we got the same one at
I think we have
Comic-Con.
the same one. Maybe that's what you have on the wall.
Yeah,
that we
there's
can't
like
see. Regular Spider-Man, Peter Parker, $20.99, and then is that Superior? I think it's a Superior Spider-Man in the corner, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And then, I'm gonna probably knock my whole fucking dresser bookcase over, but give me a second. Indulge me for a moment.
He's grabbing something from the bookcase. Very carefully. Nothing's broken yet.
Oh, I know what he's pulling.
Something's coming out.
Yes.
The Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen. It's not really a figure. It's kind of like a statue sort of thing. It's not a fancy Hot Toys, whatever kind of deal. It's a cheaper kind of thing that's more in my budget.
Still looks incredible, though.
Big Spider-Gwen fan. So anyway,
Big fans.
Big fans. Henrique obviously is quite a big fan, and we've adorned the walls of our home with some Spider-Man, Spider-Verse-y kind of sort of things. So we really, really like the first one. How does Across the Spider-Verse stack up to the legacy that the first movie established for itself? Henrique,
question.
I'm going to kick it to you. What do you think? How did Across the Spider-Verse do for you? You saw it twice, right?
I did see it twice. I saw it opening night, with you and Anna and Eastleen at the Dolby, and then Andrew and I were trying to coordinate it, couldn't make it happen, but I watched it again down in Florida on the regular format and whatnot. But I think first probably 5 minutes into the movie, I just got the feeling like this is going to be special. And I think it's coming from like being such a big fan of the first one. And I honestly didn't go in with, trying to watch every trailer, look up too many things about it. Like I knew some things in general. I'd seen some trailers, but I tried not to look up too much on it and kind of keep my expectations not low, but like not crazy just because of how good the first one was. It's like, can they capture all the things that made the first one so special? And also that first one was such a surprise and so new. Like, can you be wowed again if it's the same thing, maybe? And I will say this really did it for me. I thought this movie was special from the beginning to the end. I feel like the only kind of major criticisms I've seen, which are, I don't even know if necessarily criticism, more just like expectations, is not knowing that this is a part one of a 2, really 3-part story. So, leaving the end without a conclusion is not ideal, but obviously we're getting another one, so it's just part of the story.
And not a long wait between
not as long as before.
I think supposed to be next year. We'll see if it actually makes that date. But yeah, that's definitely certainly some. I think it's good to flag going in, and this ties into something that Andrew and I had been talking about before you hopped on. We talked about the trailer for Mission Impossible, and I made a point to say, hey, they put part 1 in the title. It tells you right away.
Yeah.
Fast X did not do the same courtesy, even though it's very much a part 1 of 2, at least 2. We'll see.
Okay.
And this one is kind of the same way as Fast X, where it's Across the Spider-Verse, but it really, and Once Upon a Time, I think it was.
It was, part 1.
Literally a part 1, part 2 situation. And I think, compared to something like Avengers, which was Once Upon a Time, Infinity War, part 1, part 2, and then later changed. Infinity War still kind of had the feel of a relatively standalone film that obviously ends on a big holy shit kind of thing. This one, in the same way, kind of has a big holy shit kind of thing at the end too, but not in the same way very much where it feels like a to-be continued situation.
It's like a Dune
Dune's
situation.
Probably a good comparison, yes. That one waited until the movie literally came out to say part 1. Got you, suckers.
It very briefly, just like boom, you blink it, you miss it.
Yeah. So either way, I didn't mean to cut you off too much, but it's very much a part 1, a part 2 of 3, really. I guess if you look at it that way, but for this particular story, a part 1 of 2. So I think it's helpful to know that. I think if you don't go in knowing that, it could feel incomplete, and it
Yeah.
is, to be fair. So
Exactly.
it's not unfair to say that, but I think knowing it kind of helps reframe how you look at it, maybe.
Definitely.
Anyway.
So I think that's one thing, like, it's helpful to know before going in, just because some people didn't like that kind of abrupt cliffhanger ending.
Sure.
But
sure.
I really loved it. I just, there's no real negative things that I can pick out for the movie. I'm sure if we dig into it, we can find something, but it's just, I feel like we go to the movies to, what does,
what's Nicole say?
if you go watch on AMC, what does Nicole Kidman say? But that whole thing, like, we come here to be like amazed,
Come
or
here to
whatever.
be entertained.
Entertained, exactly. But we go to movies to be entertained, do we not?
Somehow heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Yeah, but she's right.
Somehow reborn.
That's exactly how I felt leaving this movie. Nicole Kidman, you were right. That's exactly how I felt. This is like I feel like this is why I enjoy these kind of stories, the comic book medium, why I enjoy animation, and like why I look forward to talking about these movies, and I want to get into like some specifics that I really enjoyed, but overall, really just impactful from an emotional animation standpoint, just really outstanding work. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah. No, very, very impressive stuff all around. This is a movie that we're gonna have a lot to talk about in spoilers.
Yeah.
So we'll obviously get there before long. So stay tuned for that, listeners. Andrew, this got you out of your home. This got you away from Baby B for a few hours.
And
I hope
you know
it was
what?
worthwhile.
I can't think of a better movie to pull me away from Baby B.
Did you enjoy Peter B. Parker showing up with Mayday? That's not a spoiler, it's in the trailers.
Yeah.
I have a baby.
I do.
You're like,
yes.
that's me. I can see myself on the screen. Yeah,
So I saw this with my sister and her boyfriend Ben, who's been part of the family now for I feel like he's been 4 or 5 years. Part of the family. He's been around for a while, and just the whole experience. Like, me and my sister haven't gone to go see movies a whole lot. There's a little bit of an age differential there, but she's moved out on her own now, and we went and saw a movie, and her and her boyfriend came, and it was a lot of fun. And they hadn't seen they recently saw the first one.
Okay.
Okay.
So they hadn't seen it before. And anyways, it was really cool to kind of experience this with them. That and the story of this movie, the plot and everything else, and just the way that the story is composed was real topical for me. Enrique said there was like a negative % chance that I would not cry. That's the way it was worded.
Exactly.
It's a very confusing way of wording it, but assuming that just means that you were definitely
100% chance you will cry.
100% chance of rain.
And that was that held true. Much like Enrique, the way that they started this movie was just genius.
Yeah.
It was absolutely incredible. And what's really cool about this movie too is that they have such compelling characters, but the way that they like framed the way they wanted to tell this story was really cool. They kind of played fast and loose with like their point of view characters and who was important and this and that, and in centering it around the characters that they do is really clever, and it makes it compelling. It makes it feel fresh. It makes it feel new. And then also playing with the animation around like the places that these characters come from makes it feel very original, very fresh, and very new. So, and I don't think there was any threat of it being like a copycat from the original movie, because the first movie was so like there's nothing like it, right? Like it's just wildly innovative for the medium. And this really holds true to that because you dwell so much in other places around a bunch of other characters. So the animation felt fresh. It felt invigorating. Like, it was anytime you entered a new place, the animation really conveyed the emotions and the characters and where they come from, and it really conveyed like a sense of warmth and stuff to the characters, specifically Spider-Gwen. And I thought that was just, oh man, it's just incredible. This is and Enrique texted this.
Does it
He
get the
didn't want to
stamp?
preempt you actually saying it on the record, though. He was very courteous about that.
This is a tour de force
Boom.
film. It is.
There it is.
From the way the characters are realized, from the way that the characters get expressed from the page into the film, the way that it is animated, the plethora of like animation styles, and the way everything kind of converges into one harmonious kind of like product. It's really astounding. I don't know how you get people from so many different styles and put everything on like in the same thing, like and have the kind of product that you have here. It's really special. In much of the same ways that the first one was very special, but this is just it's like more, right?
More of
more of what made the first one so good. This is just expanded in such a huge way, and from like a different angle with the way the story is coming from, right? So I mean, you get more of Miles Morales, and that's what you expect, and it's very much his story. But at the same time, it's not. At the same time, there's other stories being told here, and it's in the way that they kind of all intertwine into one trajectory is just, I mean, it's astounding writing. It's a very, very well written movie. Very, very, very much enjoyed this. It's something very, very special. I am very happy that it was still in Dolby because it's an experience. It really leverages the spectacle, the screen. But more so than that, the first film had a awesome soundtrack. It had the way that it was scored and everything, and this is very much the same. It's just very kinetic and awesome. It's totally awesome. So that's what I got.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have kind of you've really hit on a lot of what needed to be said about this movie. So I'll echo a lot of the same sentiments and try to offer what I can that maybe is somewhat new. It's an incredible achievement, I think, as a film. I think, obviously, talking about the amount of animators and stuff like that, but I think really just getting into what Andrew was talking about, how you just kind of blend so many things into one thing successfully. It's not an easy feat to achieve. And I think purely in terms of just animation styles, it's just ridiculous, where obviously each world kind of has its own distinct kind of feel. Each character that kind of comes from that universe has their own sort of feel, and the way that they all kind of manage to gel pretty well is really, really awesome to see. And I like that it has that sort of thing where it is kind of this world hopping thing. I mean, the first one kind of, relative to this one, has a simplicity to it. And this one is really, the first one is scratching the surface of the Spider-Verse, and this one is going balls to the
Full
wall
tilt.
with it, I guess.
Across.
Full tilt. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
Across
Going
the Spider-Verse.
Sort of across it, through it a little bit. It just, there's just so much here that you just kind of have to visually take in. I only saw it once. I saw it with Enrique opening night, so it's been a couple weeks for me since I've seen it. So I wish that I had a more recent viewing. I definitely want to see it again. I just haven't been able to make it happen just yet. I think honestly, it's the kind of movie where a second viewing, I think, probably helps helps you kind of absorb a lot more of the elements, because I mean, even just visually, there's just references and little things here and there that I think you're just gonna instinctively miss on a first pass, because there's just so much to take in. But I liked that it was this expansion of the first movie, which is awesome. I think probably should be said. The first one's required viewing for this one. Do your homework before you walk in seeing Across the Spider-Verse. You definitely need to see the first one. This one just builds on it in a very natural sort of way, but expands the scope in a way that a sequel ought to do. And the story that it tells, I think, is a really interesting one, of not just being this kind of flashy multiverse thing. I mean, obviously, man, the multiverse is like
everyone's doing the multiverse.
Everything, even obviously Marvel, we're getting plenty of multiverse stuff with Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, other Spider-Man, and Loki and everything everywhere all at once. Like it's like the multiverse is in its heyday right now, and like that's cool and all. This still feels unique amongst all of those things. I mean, it's got some Loki-ish elements to it for sure. Some notches of kind of like what we saw in Marvel, but in a way that, like, No Way Home was a little multiversey, and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was not that mad after all. This almost feels closer in feel to Everything Everywhere. It's like, anything and everything that we can try, we're gonna throw at you. And it doesn't mean that everything's going to be super meaningful and it'd be a big, huge, influential part of this, but like, we're just going to go for it. And at the end of the day, we're going to let this movie succeed on the strength of its characters, on the strength of the relationships between these characters, but we're going to do it in a very flashy and dazzling sort of way that's going to keep you entertained. I mean, this is an animated movie that runs for 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is pretty crazy. But I think it's got a lot going to it. And again, it's part 1 of 2 / part 2 of 3, depending on how you look at it. There's a lot to this that kind of feels like there's a way that this could unravel really, really quickly, but it doesn't. And that's a credit to the film itself. For me personally, just, I mean, not enough praise can be levied at the creativity and the literal technicality of the animation itself. Just I cannot say enough nice things about how everything on that front was handled. The music is really good. You get another banger of a soundtrack like you did with the first one. But for me, at the end of the day, as someone who is a fan of Spider-Man as a comic book character, and has familiarity with some of these alternate Spider characters that we see. Particularly for me, I'm a huge Spider-Gwen fan, she almost kind of took like an elevated role, I think, in this one, even compared to the first one, where definitely. She's kind of a main character alongside Miles almost, and that was just so cool to see. That was like those parts of the movie particularly were just, I don't know, like cinematic magic for me.
Must stand out.
So that was the Nicole Kidman stuff for me for sure was all the Spider-Gwen stuff, but all the Miles stuff is really fantastic. All of the other stuff is really fantastic. I got to see it again. Is how I feel about it. I am glad I saw it in Dolby. One thing I think maybe should be noted, I think they fixed this. There were some sound mix issues that were reported when it first dropped, where some of the dialogue was mixed kind of low, and some of it was attributed to the theaters just like it basically needs to be played at the right volume, and then the mix is dynamic enough so that the voices can be audible, and then obviously where it's really fucking loud, it's really fucking loud. But apparently they sent a patch to theaters to kind of fix the mix a little bit. I noticed it very slightly where I felt like the intro stuff, there's like some opening monologue that was kind of buried a little bit for me.
It was a little, I noticed a little bit of that too.
And that was really the only part for me, except for one particular character who I think was a little layer cakey for me in terms of like, what did he say?
I think that's just the character or the
so I don't know if that was a mix issue or oh god, he's speaking English, but I still can't understand him. So there was a little bit of that for me in terms of some sound things, but I think other than that, hell of a ride, just a really, really fun movie, and just a genuine joy to see so many iterations of Spider-Man, to see these particular iterations of Spider-Man gaining this precedence. Like, obviously Peter Parker has had his day in the sun, and not to say that there's no Peter Parkers in this, obviously, either, but like, I don't know, it's just really cool to see Miles and Gwen and even Miguel O'Hara, seeing a full-on real introduction to 2099 here is really just neat. Lesser known villains, man, Sony live action versus animation could not be any more different. It's just so fucking bizarre that there is such a disparity in quality. And obviously credit, to Lord and Miller, who have kind of shepherded this into to what it is, and the directors as well. Like, there's a lot that
they got talent
that goes into making this.
Mm-hmm.
But if only they could get it right on the live action standpoint without Kevin Feige, looking over their shoulder, being like, nope, not that. Don't do nope, nope, that's stupid. Nope, we don't need an Aunt May movie. Nope. That sort of thing. So, really good, really good. Any other non-spoiler thoughts for anyone before we jump over to our recommendations?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to talk about in the spoiler section, so
we're very much
let's get into it.
Holding it in, I think, for sure. All right, so where are we going to stand on recommendation? Consensus: go see this in theaters. Recommendation: can we all co-sign on that?
Biggest, loudest format possible.
Yeah, I'm blown away that you were able to see it in Dolby still.
It's true.
If you can see it in a Dolby, go for it. I think that's a great way to see it. Yeah. Any. I'm
sure this will look great in IMAX too.
Way.
Yeah. Any of those, the Big D or whatever you got.
Big D. I haven't had a Big D reference in a while.
But I agree. Like, you obviously need to watch the first one before seeing this. So this is not like a brand new. This is a true sequel. There's a lot of, I think, comparisons to like Empire Strikes Back, where it's like the middle of the trilogy, kind of ending on a somewhat cliffhanger-ish dark ending. But I think a lot of people
was Spider-Man's father.
But what I was gonna say is, a lot of people, like, we've gotten so many, like, how many Spider-Man movies have we got in the past 20 years? A lot. And somehow this still feels different and new, kind of like you were saying.
And even compared to Into the Spider-Verse, which was so fresh and so
very
new
novel
at the time. This is not more of the same. I mean, it is in good ways, but not in a rehashy, do we need this sequel kind of sort of way. No, it's taking everything that worked and building on it in a really fun,
I feel like this is a true, like, everyone should go watch this. Like, if you're tired of superhero stuff, you should go watch it. If you're not like a big animation person, for some reason, like, people still like think animation is for kids, like, this is like,
if you're a 2-week-old baby, go see it.
If you're a 2-week-old,
Bennett, go see it.
Come on, Bennett would love this movie.
Oh man, stop sleeping, stop crying.
He's gonna love this movie.
I don't think the other moviegoers would be too pleased with me.
You just gotta rent out the whole theater. Just you, Bennett, and Sarah. Just go.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing. But animation needs to, like, what did Guillermo del Toro say? Like, animation is art. This movie is art. Like, this movie belongs in a museum, just in terms of like the artistic spectacle. But I think if you're someone that's like, I don't really do animation, like, it's cartoons, whatever, like, this is a kid story, this is an adult story, like, this is a story for everyone. I think everyone should go see it. And it's a 2.5 hour, like, kind of dark animation. Like, it's not just for kids.
It's interesting to me that people have a prejudice towards animated films.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
At what point?
It's sad, is what it is. It's sad.
It is sad. As as a father now, it's real sad.
And the son of a mother.
Here we go. You think you're better than us because you got kids? All right.
Just hold this baby.
Problem. Like, at what point? Because everybody grew up with animated films. Mm-hmm. Everybody that we know of has, Yeah. At what point does somebody say, "Whoa, those are for kids. Those aren't for me"?
Yeah.
Like, you're a sad adult. Like, you're the you're the adult from Lego Movie, who wants to glue the fucking Legos, you're a problem.
You don't have joy.
Exactly. What's the problem? Anyways, yeah, you're right. It's a story for everyone.
Yeah.
Totally. It's a story for kids too. It's a story for adults. It's not for one to the exclusion of the other.
No.
It's a very uniting experience of everyone can totally enjoy this. And I think, I don't know, I agree. Just the general, like, how can you just flatly say I don't like animated movies or animated movies are for kids? Like, that to me is just asinine talk. Take whatever they say for a grain of salt kind of thing is how I look at that standpoint. But I don't know, man. Like, this, even if you are that stubborn person who says, "Oh, I don't know, it's for kids," blah blah blah. Watch the first movie. Watch Into the Spider-Verse, because you probably didn't watch it because you're too stubborn to. You're like, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It can't be that good. Fuck you. It is. It is that good, and so is this one. It is as good as it is said to be, and it will convince you that you are an idiot, and you need to rethink your entire stance on life.
You have a lot of movies to watch.
Yeah, you're missing out. You're missing out, man. Your Encantos. There's some movies out there that can really. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. That one maybe is a little bit more on the adulty side of things, but hey, it's animated. Oh my God, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's not a kids movie.
But still, you can take animated movies and do something really special with them, you can do it like this one did, and it's for everyone. It's for everyone. It's still 2.5 hours. But you could probably take your 10-year-old kid and they don't need to take a pee break in the middle because they'll be enthralled with what they're seeing. They might pee themselves, maybe because they're so enthralled. But
bring a diaper.
I about peed myself. I know that.
That's a canon event that they pee themselves when they're young. That's how that goes. There's nothing you can do about it.
You gotta let it happen.
They piss and shit themselves. Andrew knows all about that life. He'll talk about it later, maybe. So anyway. Go see this in theaters. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's a really, really fantastic film, a very worthy follow-up to Into the Spider-Verse to recap that thread. And now I think we need to actually go across the Spider-Verse. Go into it. I can't say that because we
already went into it. Yeah.
We're already in it. So we're going across it now with full spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And
the fucking drums and
the drums. You want to start there? All right, go for it.
Gosh, dude.
Very, very stylistic, artsy way of kicking things off. I loved that whole prologue. It's like 10 minutes maybe?
It was
maybe
long, that opened.
It's a long fucking prologue.
Fire, dude.
It was no Miles. It's just Gwen in her world.
Just Gwen's world, the watercolor kind of inspired visualization of it. Oh,
you
man.
You ever seen anything like that?
Minutes, I was in heaven.
You ever seen anything like that on screen? Like, I've never seen that.
I have not.
I've
never seen
Not
a
quite
movie
like
that made me cry within the first 5 minutes.
Maybe Up.
But Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
And Pinocchio. Pinocchio and Up.
Oh, yeah, good. Del Toro's Pinocchio. Okay.
There's some.
Never mind.
They're all animated movies, all right?
Yeah.
I'm talking to that one person who's like, animated movies. Shit makes you cry in 5 minutes. Even more if you're a dad.
It just drills down into your core. Mm-hmm. And, oh, man.
Yeah, but what a good open,
Awesome. Really,
total
really awesome.
cue out of what's another good movie with about a drummer?
Whiplash.
Whiplash. It was a
Not
total Whiplash.
Was that your speed? Was this movie your speed? Right, your tempo. Right, your tempo.
Tempo. That's it. Yes. From the get-go, just that intro, I knew we were in for a ride.
It really set the tone too, because she's Gwen's talking about the past, but then talking about the past in the future. Like, you assume this is kind of set a little bit later in the movie. That I guess wasn't clear. I'd be curious in your interpretation, because she says she talks about Miles and she says that she hurt him, and so I guess where does that take place necessarily in the storyline? But it's kind of setting you up for things to come, I thought.
Yeah, the specific dialogue, I haven't seen it recently enough to comment on myself. Having now been close to 2 weeks removed from seeing it, I just remember the broad strokes of things. But I don't know, Andrew, you obviously have recency here.
I very much just took that face value.
Okay.
She hasn't seen Miles just as long as he hasn't seen her.
Yeah.
and she misses him, and it really goes full circle whenever they go to, like whenever they enter Miles' space. You know what I mean? He's been drawing pictures of her. He misses her.
We've been drawing lots of pictures.
Yeah. And that interaction
all-
when she finds it.
All the pictures were very PG though. You know, they kept it very.
That's true. They
very
were
clean.
not inappropriate pictures. That was the other notebook that she didn't find, thankfully.
But I thought I really enjoy. I don't know. It's just heartwarming. You know, these.
Yeah,
people,
definitely.
Yeah,
They
genuine
can't communicate.
connection. But the separate. I mean, literally, universes apart, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, not even a galaxy apart. They're just straight up different realities. Right. That's a pretty hard thing. Pretty tough pill to swallow.
That's a real long distance relationship right there. You know, you could do a bus ride, a plane ride, but like a universe ride away, that's tough.
Yeah.
So I feel for my man.
Yeah, I loved that intro. I mean, all the Spider-Gwen backstory, seeing that realized on screen was just heartbreaking, but so well done. All the stuff with her Peter, with her dad. I mean, just straight from the comics and man.
Oh, is
I
it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just straight.
And I will say I've fallen off the wagon quite a bit in terms of collecting comics and reading comics lately. But I have a very extensive Spider-Gwen collection for like a few years, and it's buried a bunch of shit in my closet. I'm like, this movie, I'm gonna go through this horrible, foul closet, and I'm gonna get that comic book. I'm gonna get that comic box out. Thankfully, I think it's not the one fully buried, but yeah, this makes me really just want to go back in it, and it just captured the visual style and like the feel and tone of it so well.
Is she all watercolory in the comics too?
Yeah,
it's kind of got that sort of feel, and I like that they.
Really cool.
I like that they were
special.
able to kind of bring the visual style to life in that way. Yeah, it's just so cool, so cool.
Looks great.
Another thing that's really fucking cool is my fun fact that I'm just gonna throw out right now in the middle of an episode, motherfuckers.
Spoilers.
Legos. There is a Lego Spider-Man that appears in this movie, which was awesome, which was very awesome. Unexpected, actually. I was not actually expecting a Lego Spider-Man. You know, as crazy. Actually, I will say I wasn't expecting to get as absolutely wild as they did with the amount of spider characters that they brought into the fold. Lego feels like a natural fit. Lord and Miller,
Right.
Worked on the Lego movie. Like, oh yeah, that kind of does make sense. That's not a surprising thing. But my fun fact, and I think you guys have both probably read about this, but maybe your listeners haven't heard about it. The whole sequence of the Lego Spider-Man and Across the Spider-Verse was animated by one person. And I should say it was animated by one boy, a 14-year-old named Preston Mutanga, who had recreated the first trailer that came out for Across the Spider-Verse with Lego, and inspired the creative team behind the film to reach out to him and say, "Hey, do you want to work on this movie?" And so he said yes. And so his dad bought him. His dad built him a new computer, bought him a banging graphics card so that he could keep working on it, and he fully animated this segment
so cool.
after his homework, after he did his homework on school nights. So just in his spare time, this 14-year-old kid was working on Across the Spider-Verse. And
you can put that on your college resume. Be like, I just animated.
This kid is going places.
Spider-Verse.
Let's put it that way. It's awesome. That's so fucking cool.
That brings an awesome smile to your face, dude.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That's just, I mean, oh man, that's just the coolest thing ever. Like, I mean, for him, obviously, that's like a life-changing experience. But just it's even cool for me, watching the movie, seeing that, man, like that's just such an awesome thing to do. And I'll tell you what, it looks incredible.
It was a great sequence.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was flawless. I mean, it integrated perfectly into the movie.
Yeah, it was just a joy. I mean, and just an absolute, delight to see a Lego Spider-Man in here was fantastic. But
incredible.
But anyway, there's my fun facts now that we're nice. I don't know, almost 2 hours in or whatever, hour plus in, certainly more than an hour plus in. Let's put it that way. But anyway, yeah. Where else do we need to jump around in the Spider-Verse? Talking about spoilers.
Oh god, there's so many places.
There's so many places we can jump to. Characters, literal places.
Yeah. I guess big theme wise, like this this is a multiverse story, like you were saying, and I feel like this is what you need to do with a multiverse story. It's like, one, show, like, if there's an infinite realities, we don't need to be confined to like what just like the beginning of our imagination. Like, really take it and like, is there a Lego Spider-Man? Yes. Is there a cat Spider-Man? Is there a dinosaur Spider-Man? Like, there's just all, it's every possibility, whatever you can imagine happens. That's the multiverse. Like, it's an infinite number of universes. So I don't think we need to be limited to just like a few things here and there. Just like really go all out. And I think it gives you an opportunity to tell, like, one, to go crazy with imagination, but then two, to tell stories about characters that you understand, but then like different versions of them. So we get like different versions of Spider-Man and Spider-Woman and different Peter Parkers. But then, you know, we'll talk about later, different Mileses, like just different, the same people, but different versions of them. And I think that's what makes it really interesting. Like seeing how one little thing changes and it changes the whole universe. So I think this is where, like, if you want to make a good multiverse story, that's like some of the things to kind of hit on. It's just like, use your imagination and really use it to strengthen your characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like I just want to talk about all the different spider characters, kind of jump off that. Like,
yeah,
there's so many little kind of like, yes, there was a T-Rex Spider-Man.
So many Easter eggs.
Why? Because why not? That's the answer. Why not? But yes, lots of Easter eggs, which are really, really fun.
Peter Parked Car.
Some of Peter Parked Car. some of my personal favorites would definitely have to be Spectacular Spider-Man making an appearance in this with Josh Keaton, I think, doing at least one line of dialogue in there, which was fun. The Insomniac video game, PS4, PS5 Spider-Man, with also, I think, at least one of dialogue for that character. And then I think Genki is playing like Spider-Man 2 or something in the dorm or something. Those two particularly were really good. But how about them just going full Roger Rabbit with the live action components? That really kind of took me by surprise.
And the way that it melded so well into the animation was awesome.
It really ties in those movies into this universe.
Yeah, using the literal. I mean, I think they really kind of focused on Andrew Garfield Spider-Man to kind of talk about the canon events. I feel like showing, because he's stuck in the canon. He's got everything.
Oh,
he's got Captain Stacy dying. He's got Uncle Ben dying. He's got Gwen dying. I don't. Is that a canon event? I don't know. Or is he just getting extra shat on compared to other Spider-Man? I'm not sure. And women, Spider-Man and women and people, Spider people, Spider T-Rexes and Spider whoever's and such, Spider Parked Cars, Peter Parked Cars and such. Yeah. But then we got a little bit of Toby. We got the dialogue reference to Doctor Strange and the Little Nerd, which is very clearly, I think, intended to be an MCU No Way Home. But we didn't see Tom Holland anything, although we did see one alternate version of the Prowler. As that was cool. As played by Donald Glover, which was pretty neat. So potential cool. MCU connection there. Maybe he was pulled from the actual MCU into this. Who knows? I don't know. It's kind of interesting because I feel like this whole multiverse thing is kind of operating within the Sony parameters, which are sort of adjacent to the MCU, but maybe also part of it. Because I swear, even like the whole like timeline demonstration looked straight from Loki.
Yeah, that was how straight up.
Like the visualization of that felt like
there's definitely some like shared energy and aesthetics.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was really really cool to see them just go absolutely ham, and I don't mean that in a Spider Ham pejorative sort of way. With the just the absolute insanity that they just explored this with. I mean, you know, you get some classics. You get like a Scarlet Spider in here.
Yeah,
you get, you know, some more traditional, you know, Spider-Mans that you've seen in the comics.
Like armored,
the armored
suit.
The 60s, I think, the cartoon one we get for like a sliver there. You know, they're getting ridiculous with it. in terms of just the cameo-y bits. But then they also, give you new characters who actually have, more major roles in it, which is really cool. So you got 2099 Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman, Spider-Man India, Hobie Brown's Spider-Punk. So you get some with a lot more play than others.
Major players, yeah.
It's just cool to see all of it kind of come together in this way. So I enjoyed the little cameos and fun nods and references, and I'm sure I absolutely missed a chunk of them if I had to guess. It's definitely going to be a freeze frame kind of scrub, like, oh my god, look at this. This is that Spider-Man from this and that. And, that's really cool that they did all that. A lot of, obviously, time and energy went into making that happen, but yeah, man, just a lot to unpack here. So anyway, I'm done rambling about all the cool shit that I saw. Where do we want to go next? What do you guys want to talk about?
I feel like they really delved into Miles' story in this one. Just obviously that was like the main point of the first one, but really exploring like the dynamic with his family, especially with his mom. I think he saw a lot more between him and Rio in this.
Heart-wrenching.
That speech that was in the first teaser. The one where they're up at the tower.
Yeah, and I people can, go in the internet history, and I wasn't loving the first teaser that we got, and I thought the emotion behind this moment is kind of lost on me because I don't really know what the context is for what's going on here. I thought it played so much better in the movie where you have the full context of kind of what Miles is going through. I don't know. That's the sort of thing where just the emotionality of all that just really, really worked. Miles' story is it's very compelling, and the way that he almost is against the rest of the Spider-Verse, kind of throughout, where he's isolated in some way, in many ways, and kind of has to go against everything that they're kind of operating for. It's a really, really interesting dynamic that they kind of set up in this movie. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's coming from a place of just being lonely, like no one can understand him. Like, I'm like the one and only Spider-Man now, and like I'm doing my thing, but I make mistakes along the way.
I got a mustache.
I got a mustache. I endorse baby powder, or do this and that, but ultimately he's lonely, and like the people that he's connected with don't come to see him, and he can't go see them, and so the whole movie he just yearns to be with them again. Especially like Gwen, like he's obviously crushing on her, but I think it was also like a real connection of just like we share the same things, we just come from different places, and then when he goes and gets that, like the thing that he wanted the whole movie, and they don't accept him, I think that's really tough. And but you see his growth, and he's able to challenge Miguel O'Hara and be like, no, like I'm gonna do things my way, and like I'm not gonna back down, and he's not giving up. And I think that's like the true essence of the Spider-Man character. And whether he's in a nominee or not, like he belongs there, and he might be the one that fixes the whole Spider-Verse after all this.
Oh yeah, dude. Well said. That's so nice. Man, Spider-Man.
Well, I like this idea of these canon events and how Miles is like I'm supposed to do the right thing. Like I'm just supposed to let people die. Like, I don't know. I think it's such it's very much the Loki debate that we had with Loki, Sylvie versus He Who Remains of, like, okay, like it's kind of like where 2099 is coming from. Like it's certainly, like an understandable viewpoint to basically be like, I don't want to break the universe. I don't want to break the Spider-Verse, and I have to keep everything intact. And if if you ruin things, if you mess with things, you can have, disastrous consequences for everything. Whereas Miles is just motivated by pure kind of altruism and just like trying to do the right thing of like, I saved, Spider-Man India's love interest's dad, who's like the police, the equivalent of the
police
Captain Stacy, the police captain. It's just like, well, why wouldn't I? Why would
not
I just
a bad
let him
thing.
die?
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. I don't know. I really like that. And I think it's interesting because like 2099 is not a bad guy. I mean, he's like a vampire or something. I don't know what's going on there. But
I'm with you there.
Yeah, I think he's not actually a vampire, but
he's maybe a vampire, and he's got an AI who's like cool or whatever. But
he was totally about to fucking suck Vulture's blood. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
there's
he's
some
like
weirdness
part
going on.
spider. Like his
Okay,
DNA, his
yeah,
DNA
right,
is
yeah.
like spider and stuff. So
Yeah.
whatever you gotta
But
do.
you know, like it's an interesting way of like you think that all these spider people should just get along and like this is so cool and it's so cool and like once they get past the novelty, it's like really about working for something and I think you know Miguel is really very much I think the villain of this movie. I don't know that he's going to be the villain of Beyond. I think there comes to a point where, well, obviously we haven't even talked about the spot at all. We'll get to this. We should probably go there soon. You know, he's if not the villain, the antagonist really for this because
right.
He's the obstacle for Miles, who's just trying to do the right thing, and Miguel is very much like, no, you don't belong here. You don't know what you're doing. You're a fucking stupid idiot. You know, go fucking live in your own world and stop bothering me. You're not even supposed to be Spider-Man, you douchebag. You know, that sort of thing, which is obviously a big deal. That another thing that I just reminded myself of that we haven't talked about. But yeah, there's a lot of like big kind of plot revelations here of, you know, the spider that bit you was supposed to be on this earth and ended up there, and you threw a bagel at this one guy and he got really pissed off. You know, stuff like that. So anyway, I don't know. I'm just rambling now because I probably had a couple beers or whatever, and you know that's how it goes. But yeah, just I don't know. I'm just like in this shit. I just want to watch it again. That's where I'm at.
So good.
And, like
I'm
trying to relive it like in my brain. I'm like, I can't connect all the dots because I haven't seen it in 2 weeks.
Would, like stop this podcast and we'll just go watch it.
Go back and watch it.
If you guys wouldn't mind just holding
we'll
it
take a break.
I don't
We'll
think
catch
there's
a
a
late show
showtime.
and get back.
There's not a showtime until tomorrow, so if you guys should just stay here all night.
Do it again.
That would be the best solution to all of this. No. But no, it's really good. It just goes so many places. I feel like I'm all over the place, but it's because that's what this movie is.
That's the multiverse.
How about Prowler Morales?
Morales.
Oh, I guess going to the end.
Yeah, let's just jump around.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
All right. So the big reveal is, I guess everyone's seen it, but he goes back to what he thinks is his home world, but it takes him back to
quote unquote home
Earth 42.
Really.
Yeah, which like is. You know, especially watching a second time, like it's so telegraphed. Like they're not hiding it. You know, when you go to Miles's world, it clearly says like 16, 10 or whatever, and like the colors are different, and everything. And then you see the spider with 42, and it says like sending you to Earth 42 or whatever. So there's like so many things that like signal like, oh, you're going to the wrong place, but you just get swept into the story, and until you realize that he's in the wrong Earth and it's not like his house and. He goes to the effort, like revealing himself to his mom.
Such a gut punch because he's like laying it all on the line and telling her, and she's like,
and you're like,
okay.
and at first you're like, wait, what? Like she clearly knows who Spider-Man is. Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Like that was my reaction. I don't know if other people thought the same thing, but
I don't know. I just assumed there wasn't a Spider-Man on that Earth because the spider was literally taken away from that.
Yeah,
Earth. So no one would have been bit, right?
Exactly. There's no Spider-Man on that Earth, so. It's become what it's become.
It's just a bunch of villains. I guess.
Yeah,
there's a Prowler.
Yeah,
you know,
seeing Uncle Aaron come back, that was crazy.
That was good. That was really good. Good way to bring him back. Smart way to bring him back.
I'm sure, like a bittersweet kind of sensation for Miles, and then he's like, "I'm not the Prowler,"
which I did see that coming. So
what is the uncle?
Yeah, because like he's like the second in command.
Okay.
Miles is the Prowler.
I think he was the Prowler.
I assume,
protege to kind of
I assume so.
To take the reins, and you know, I'm not as spry as I used to be, and where I can have a 16-year-old, 14-year-old kid, however old Miles is, and you know he can get into places.
Oh man, but he's got cornrows and shit, and he's just
a little darker.
So much more hardened than our Miles Morales.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Miles is a nice, happy-go-lucky, kid who's just, he's a delight to be around. And this other Miles seems like he's been through some shit, like his dad dying, for example.
Sure, yeah.
Like obviously our Miles had to watch his uncle die, but is still being raised by his parents, which like all the spider people are like, oh wow, you still have 2 parents, like good for you.
Yeah,
and. You see this Miles, like how differently he became without. Obviously, the spider gave him powers, but it's not just that. It's like his world now.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been corrupted, it seems like, of just having such a different upbringing of, not the loving environment that our Miles, was raised in. And you see that so much, we talked about obviously the speech that Rio gives him, but Jefferson's the same way. Like they both just love their kid and want the best for him and wish their kid was a little bit more open and honest with them and not just being weird and shady and secretive all the time. And it's like, they're just like Papa Meadows over there. They're just trying to do the best for their kid, and do everything you can in your power. And, at a certain point, it's out of your hands. You got to respect, what they, want to do. And, you can't just, handcuff them and, do the right thing all the time. But man, yeah, it's just the one little difference is that butterfly effect here of, man, what happened here with this Miles? And maybe there's more to the story. This is kind of where it cuts off, to be fair, in terms of like the big reveal of Miles v. Miles. But yeah, I don't know. It's such an interesting parallel that I'm keen to see how they explore that.
Do you need to fight yourself though? Like, is that the solution that they need to fight?
Maybe not. Maybe the first 5 minutes of Beyond are just like, it's like the end of Scott Pilgrim, where Scott and Nega Scott were just like, hey man, we're pretty cool, we're buddies now. We figured it out.
But the eyes that they made for the Earth 42 Morales, Morales, they were just so cold.
Yeah,
like you just, what I mean. He just seems like a totally different character.
He's still apparently like a 15-year-old kid, but like
he's just a kid, but he's going down the wrong path.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how that gets resolved.
Next year.
So where we leave it. To kind of wrap up at least my thoughts on the end, and obviously there's some other places we still need to go in terms of talking about this movie a little bit more exhaustively. It brought joy to my heart to bring the old gang back together at the end.
Yeah,
I thought that
I'm excited.
If I had one big complaint for this movie, it's that I didn't think there was enough of the old crew. It was nice to introduce this new crew, and it was fun, and it was cool, and like all the cameos and references were all neat and whatever. But like, where's my Spider-Man Moore? Where's my Penny Parker? Where's my Spider-Ham?
Yeah,
where
Penny was like
everyone?
briefly in it.
Yeah,
but,
she's like
no.
And you get some Peter B. Parker, but maybe could benefit from more. Mayday was great. I enjoyed Mayday. She's funny. But yeah, it was just one of those things. It's like, oh yes, I want the third one to be like a bringing the gang back together sort of thing. It's just going to be such a joy. Because I remember like before the movie came out, like there were people who asked like Nicolas Cage, are you in this one? He's like, nope. I'm like, man, what are you doing? Like, why wouldn't you bring him back? But now I kind of see, all right, let's tee up a few other things and then bring it all home. I think that there's a way to do that. Could be really, really cool. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the ending. I'll pass it off again for anyone else that has thoughts they want to chime in on the ending, but there's probably some other places we can go to otherwise.
Real cliffhanger. You knew
big cliffhanger.
You knew there was a part 2, Andrew?
Oh yeah,
I did. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we talked about that, I think, in I don't know, in like the news leading up to the release of the movie. I think we talked about it at some point.
That's an advantage of doing a podcast. Sometimes you're in the know.
You know
we are in the know. That's right.
Sometimes. Not always. We skip news sometimes, a lot of the time, actually, but, we remember
we always
things.
generally have our ear to the ground.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I think if you're not expecting it, it can be a shock, but it's like,
it's pretty abrupt.
There's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, it's literally to be continued. No mid credits, no post credits. Just Miles will return or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I do feel good.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Apparently, they cut a sequence that would have been a mid or post credit sequence. So we haven't talked about the Spot at all, but apparently there was going to be a scene where the Spot went to like a bar which was full of supervillains, and this is when the Spot is kind of like a joke character towards the beginning of the movie, and everyone would make fun of him. And then they were going to pay that off in the mid or post credit sequence where he's upgraded, powerful Spot, and then he just wrecks everyone in the bar or something like that. But I guess I think they cut it. I think they wanted to kind of leave it on a more oh shit cliffhanger-y kind of note, leave it at that, not end it with like a total joke, just like, all right, oh shit, Miles is in a bad situation. but the gang's getting back together. So you get kind of
There's hope.
a little sliver of hope, optimism on top of, ooh, this could get real bad real quick. So, and I think that would kind of take the focus away from that. And that's not a bad decision. I mean, it's obviously surprising. We're conditioned to expect Marvel movies to, always kind of have the and one more thing. But not here, and that's all right.
No, I liked it. It's like it keeps it all contained to the movie, and there's no extra to it. And there's like so much in this movie, but I like how in the end it's still kind of simple. Like you can overanalyze and you can look at all the cameos, but it's mostly about this kid like wanting to fit in and being lonely, and then getting to there and realizing that every Spider-Man has to go through their steps, and like these are the canon events, and you have to follow them, or the universe breaks apart. And he's like, but no, like I can do this, and like it's this very like I love when you like have this very complicated thing and you boil it down to it's just he needs to go back and save his dad, and it's much more
it breaks
understandable.
down to with great power comes great responsibility. If he can save the Indian Spider-Man's dad or whatever,
he has the power. He has the responsibility to do so.
He has the responsibility to do it.
Yeah, or you can just let him die because it's supposed to be that way.
Right.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, go back home 2099. Go mind your own fuckhole.
Yeah. Who's your Uncle Ben, right? Who the fuck told you that? Yeah, and man.
But I could see a little bit of where he's coming from, because like he's like, I tried to do this.
Understandable.
I tried to have it all. And I messed up and I ruined this universe or whatever.
A version of himself or something, right?
Which is what Wanda should have done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like not try to take over another Wanda, just find a universe where there's no Wanda. But he did the, seemingly right thing and try to and nurture those kids and give them a good life and have the life that he wanted, and it backfired. So I think seeing it from the more like adult view, you can be like, Miguel isn't the villain here. He's trying to keep everything in order, but Miles isn't as hardened. He isn't as like beat down by the world, I guess, like this version of Miles. So he still has the optimism that makes him the hero and like makes him fight.
Yeah. How about the Spot?
The Spot.
He's just I like, he's just kind of like a sketch, almost like just the way he looks, and then he's kind of a joke, kind of just like I'm your arch nemesis. He threw a bagel at me one time, and I'm mad about it. But the Spot goes through a hell of a development, some particle colliding or whatever is going on there. Dude, one of the biggest like power buffs I've seen in like a single movie, where by the end, like when the Spot shows up and he's like mostly just, I don't know, just the way that he's actually animated in that point just feels like, okay, this is bad. This is very bad. He's not a joke anymore. I don't know. That was really cool. I thought he was an interesting villain, even though he kind of disappeared for a bit there.
Yeah, he felt for me like kind of like a I don't know what the film term is. I want to say MacGuffin, but it's not MacGuffin. Like he kind of feels like a very compelling plot element to like you want the main enemy to be, you don't want it to be a Spider-Man, right? You don't want, like, for me, like the even though 2099 was
the antagonist in some way.
Yeah, he was kind of like an antagonist a bit, but like I feel like these movies they put the inner conflicts on the forefront, right? Like the problems that Gwen Stacy has and the problems that Miles Morales have, there's a lot of inner conflict and inner turmoil and even though you have like Spot who gets the power upgrades and this and that, at the end of the movie, at the very end of the day, Miles is pitted against himself.
Miles, yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that's really interesting. I think it's a really good storytelling element. So yeah, that's all I got. I think while Spot is he starts out as a joke, and then he ends up being more menacing towards the end of the movie. I do think Spot seems conquerable for at the very least.
I don't know. In the beginning, maybe.
Yeah, by the end.
But at the end, I don't know. He can go into any multiverse.
Pretty tough.
He can go into all the multiverses. I mean, he's pretty OP.
Yeah, he's like Obutopaki.
Obutopaki.
He has the power of like all Obutopaki.
From everything everywhere.
She has the power of all the multiverses.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know.
Like, how do you?
He I don't think that he
everything
has
bagel. It's all about bagels in this world.
It's all the
Everything
bagels. No
into
bagels.
The multiverse involves some sort of bagel.
Bagels are always trouble.
The angst, like the he doesn't have the oomph to be the villain he wants to be. And I think that alternate reality Morales or just
Miles Prowler.
Miles
Prowler
or
Miles
just
Prowler.
like inner conflicts.
There's a
like
Tails
Tails
joke in there somewhere.
Of like Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales, like their inner conflicts to do good are much bigger foes than Spot, even though he's kind of OP.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, I think Spot is like the physical menacing threat of
That's right.
Your canon event is about to happen, and I'm the villain that is bringing about that. But yeah, it's not just about, we got to go have a big action set piece and punch it out, and it's about the interdynamics between these spider people and that sort of thing more than the literal threat that could be a very bad day for Miles Morales. So yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with the Spot, particularly for Beyond, but all of it obviously, and just terms of how it goes. I think for me the only thing that I think we really haven't talked about too much we talked about Miguel a bit, but I think the new characters, I think that they were a fun introduction to a lot of it. To me, I didn't get a whole lot out of Jessica Drew. I thought she was cool,
I feel like there's more coming. I enjoyed her. Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it feels like Beyond, we might get a little bit more time with her character. But Spider-Man India was a very fun introduction.
That was a really cool sequence.
The Mumbattan sequence was really cool, visually interesting, distinct again from the rest of the movie.
Like, being Spider-Man is so easy.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, chai tea and naan bread and whatever else, sorts of things sets them off. That was funny. But even though I couldn't understand a goddamn word this man was saying, Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk.
How is he so cool?
He was fucking cool.
How is he even cooler with the mask off?
He's walking around. Yeah, he's cool with the mask off. Walking around with his guitar and shit, man. I don't know.
He's animated so cool too. Like
his animation
incredible.
is so cool. So cool. Like, oh man. How they did that is incredible. And Gwen's leaving a toothbrush. He's
like, he doesn't know about Hobie?
Cool. Those two characters were very, very cool introductions, and same thing. I mean, I think Hobie was part of the team up at the end, right?
Because he's the one that gave. He's the one that gave Gwen the. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it the first time, but he's like stealing stuff all as he's walking around and like making his own. Because he throws his original wristband out, but apparently it seems like he made one. Man. Yeah.
Okay. He's got his own little doohickey or whatever.
So
that's cool.
Because that's how Gwen like travels back, assuming with the one that he created
to kind of link up with all the others. Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. That's cool.
So he was so cool.
Spider Bite. I feel like we didn't get enough with her, but I liked that she looked like a janky like PS2, PS3 animation kind of thing, which was like a fun dichotomy again with all the other varied animated versions that we get. So yeah, cool characters. Can't wait to see more of them. I think I might be tapped out on stuff, but I'm an open. I'm happy to respond to anything that you.
No, I mean there's so much. There's so much to it. We talked about the animation, the characters, and the writing. I think the the sound of it was great overall. Yeah. I think, the score itself, like just the themes that kind of come back from the first one. And I quite enjoy the soundtrack. I probably don't, at least so far, don't enjoy it quite as much as the first one. Just so many hits on the first one that like really stick out to me, and I just keep listening to it over and over. But I have been listening to the soundtrack a bit more recently, and I think there's a couple tracks that like really stand out for me. And I think one is the ending song, Am I Dreaming? Like that one, like the violin just like keeps playing in my head, like as everyone's kind of falling down, like the credits are rolling. I think that's incredible. I think the most popular song on this album is a Hummingbird. And I forget what sequence that plays. And Annihilate was a really good one too that's in it. But there's a couple other ones, like when Home is playing in the beginning, when Gwen is feeling like out of place in her world. And no, really, really good soundtrack. I'm going to keep playing and listening to it and see if I end up liking it as much as the first one. But it's just... I
just like when they do stuff like that, like...
Yeah, it's all original,
Black Panther did it. The Into the Spider-Verse did it. We got it a little bit with Wakanda Forever as well. But it's just like... And I think Shang-Chi had one as well. I didn't listen to that one as much, to be fair. But
yeah, that's true. No, those songs were made for the movie. Yeah.
Like, just... build a whole like soundtrack of getting really talented creative artists on board and like build it into your movie. Like obviously Guardians is one way to do it, where you're taking like really established music, which is really fun, and finding a good way to integrate that into to enhancing the experience. But this is another really cool thing to do is like a lot of songs will have like, all right, Eminem's going to do his, Venom song for Venom. Venom, put that in the credits. Venom. Like, all right, whatever, man. But like, do that for a whole thing, and they're better than that song, like the whole time. I don't know. I like this idea, and I feel like it's not. I mean, like musicals obviously have their own thing where they literally have, songs integrated into the movies in that particular way. But this sort of thing feels more prevalent now, but still fairly rare. But it's a cool thing.
Really enjoy it. No.
Yeah.
But no, man, this is great. Like this is why I like movies, and I think when the year's over,
what? So do I.
I can see. I feel like when the year's over, this is for me personally, just everything that this movie kind of does, and the things that hit with me is like probably going to be my favorite of the year. But I think just in general, in terms of like praise, like this movie, I haven't seen Elemental or other stuff coming out this year. I can't imagine anything.
The Flash.
Yeah, but I guess in terms of like animated stuff, I can't imagine anything like competing in the Oscar for animated picture. And I frankly think if I was in the Hollywood Foreign Press and the Academy, I would say put this thing for Best Picture, Best. I guess for Golden Globes. I don't know what category it'd be. This might be like in a weird comedy situation, but. I don't know. I think this movie should be nominated. We're just talking about
the music. Arguing that it's a musical.
That's true. Musical comedy. I think this movie should be nominated.
Honestly, this is kind of a musical / comedy. Musical. If you're going to throw anything in the Golden Globes,
that's true.
Weird categories. I think it would fit there just fine. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's an animated film, and I'm sure they'll just it's an animated film. It's not a serious movie for adults, so we can't put it in a different category than an animated film. This is the baby category for babies and kids.
If I were the Academy, I would have this in my list for Best Picture nominees. Is just all I'm saying. Obviously, the year's not over. It's gonna be a lot of things, but it's just when you look back in the last however many years, like I feel like the Spider-Verse movies really define things. Like you look back on movies like Parasite and Moonlight and things like that, and just like things that changed cinema. Like I feel like this is right up there.
Yeah, I mean it's doing it all. Animation, techniques, storytelling, characterization, heart, personality. Like it's a model to follow, for a lot of movies in years to come, decades to come. This is a template to follow. Doesn't mean just do the exact same thing, but don't be afraid to be original. Don't be afraid to be creative. Don't be afraid to experiment with, things, because you might do something originally. You might do something that really sets you apart from things that have come before you. And this this one and its predecessor are really, really shining examples, I guess, in movies that would kind of, could kind of fall into that categorization for me. So yeah. I said I am tapped out. Just been responding, Andrew. I'm going to kick it to you. Do you have any other final spoilerific thoughts or other thoughts on Spider-Verse?
No,
Across the Spider-Verse?
The last thing that I think I would say is that I agree with Enrique that these are genre-defining films as far as, just the category that they kind of land in. They just, they speak volumes of what the animated medium is capable of, and to anybody that would, chastise a film because it chooses to be an animated one, I would encourage you to watch these movies because they're right full of heart and from the way that they're animated, from the way that they're written, they're just they're tour de forces, man. They're
they'll make you cry.
Yeah. They're well-rounded films. They're just powerful films. So good stuff.
Tour de force.
Agreed. I didn't say it, but I'll say it. It is a tour de force, without a doubt.
3 tour de forces.
So
put that on a fucking trailer, on a TV spot.
You have to tweet it out.
It would have been cut from this episode if I can edit it in the right way. But I was called away in the middle of recording to watch a TV spot for The Flash by Anna because it was all a bunch of pull quotes instead of being from critics. It was from random users on Twitter, and I think that this movie could get a TV spot that could be attributed to Watch Review Repeat that just says tour de force.
Tour de force.
So if they wanted to use the Flash
put it on the
style
Blu-ray.
of marketing, they could do that. They could put it on the Blu-ray cover. They could do whatever, man. We're just you got 3 people saying
awesome.
it. 3 people saying it. More than the usual 2. We got 3 people saying it. That means we mean it. So, all right, there you have it. Spider-Man. I want pictures of Spider-Man. We got lots of pictures of Spider-Man, lots of videos of him too. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, we've talked about it. So a few things have been going on in Mr. Andrew Meadows' life, and I'd love to hear about them, as I imagine the listeners might.
Gosh, would you like to hear about what I've been up to?
I would. I want to hear about dad life.
You know what I should do though? I should go grab Sarah to find out if she wants to say anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I was gonna say you don't have to bring Benny into this.
She actually
bring him in too. I want to hear some soft cooing, and stuff. Oh,
look at him.
Look at that little guy.
Who is that?
Oh, look at
who you got right there.
Bennett.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Bennett is making his first appearance on Watch Review Repeat.
He had a long day. He had a photo shoot.
I saw his eyes just open.
Bennett, what else you been up to? A lot of wet diapers.
Movies and TV shows over there.
A lot of wet diapers. A lot of poop diapers.
You pooping in your diapers over there? You better not be. Shouldn't be doing that. You're gonna have to learn how to not do that at some point.
You got some time. Oh, look who it is!
Oh, and Sarah Meadows has joined the party as well. It's just the family. The family is here.
The family, yeah. Theo's here too.
Theo. I can't see Theo, but Theo's. It's just everyone's here.
Oh,
Chloe, Charlie, get them in. Get them all in.
Family. Oh, how's the family doing?
Yeah, let's
I'm
talk
sure
about
you've gotten plenty of sleep. Feel
how's everyone
restful. Doing? No stress.
We're doing good. We've made it through the other side of bringing life into the world.
Yeah.
Oh. Did you guys hear that?
No, the toot.
I think little baby B shot himself.
Live on air. What a moment.
Yeah, it's going good though. We're getting him into routine already.
Oh, look at him.
He makes some pretty great faces.
He's got a good blue steel face.
Yes, there you go. So baby B was supposed to be born. Sarah was supposed to be induced at the end of May.
Okay.
So we went to the hospital, and on May 31st, which was literally Sarah's last day of work. 1 week early from his due date because he was supposed to be very big. It turned out he was
quite large, I think.
He was quite large. He was born 9 pounds, 12 ounces, and 20 inches long.
Oh, boy.
That's a big boy.
It's a big boy. And so, anyways, she left work. I left work early, and we went to the hospital on May 31st. And I went to the jewelry store right by the house. It was like a local jewelry store and stuff. And I was looking for Bennett's like birthstone. I was like, oh, there's no way he's going to be born in May. He's going to be born in June. So I'm gonna pick out. I ended up buying Sarah some pearls. I bought pearl earrings and a pearl necklace. And anyways, we got to the hospital, and the doctor says, "Are you sure you want to deliver him? He's quite large." And Sarah says, "We're open to a C-section." And so he ended up being born May 31st. So Sarah's birthstones her present's no longer appropriate, but it's a funny story, I guess. So, anyways, the past couple weeks have been an adventure. He was born, and 9 pounds 12 ounces, and it was definitely a good thing that Sarah chose to have a C-section because he was quite large. And I got to be there for the C-section. That was also an experience. I went on the other side of the curtain. That was an experience. One of the nurses actually slipped on some liquids that were on the floor. I think it was probably blood, and she had to like steady herself with the lamp. Oh, she goes, "Oh God, that was close." Like, oh my gosh, there's total madness in this room. Sarah didn't feel a thing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it would be pretty terrible to feel what I saw, anyway.
What a way of putting it.
It's modern medicine for you.
Modern medicine. And so we spent a couple days at the hospital, and then we left. We left, I think, so we went on a Wednesday, and we left on a Friday. Took him home. The first night was kind of rough because he was larger, and so they wanted to check him for diabetes and stuff, I guess. They were constantly checking his blood sugar every other hour. So, every other hour they were in there pricking his heel and making him bleed and stuff, and he was real pissed off about that.
Understandable. Yeah.
So the first night was super, super, super rough. But after that, it was pretty easy, or it wasn't so bad. We got home, and he had his first doctor's appointment that Monday. We went into that doctor's appointment, and then I stopped on the way to work to show everybody at work baby B. And then we got home, and Sarah was not feeling well. And so she ended up going to the hospital, and her blood pressure was like, 200 over 100 or something crazy?
180, I think it got.
It's a little high.
180 over 100, and her oxygen level was like, her O2 saturation was at like in the 70s. It was really bad, and so it was a good thing she went. And the doctors at the hospital in Dade City had her convinced that, it had all of us convinced really that, you need a blood transfusion. You've lost over half of your blood, your body supply of blood. You have congestive heart failure, and it was just like all this terrible news. And it's like, and I'm stuck at home. I was at home with the baby, and Sarah went to the hospital with her mom. And Sarah's sister came over and helped watch the baby while she went to Tampa. Okay, baby B's gonna take a quick break and go get a bottle. He's hungry.
That seems fair. He's
He's earned it.
Yeah. He
And
made his
so-
first appearance, and it's really exciting. So,
Well, she'll bring him back. He'll be all right once he's.
oh, okay,
drinking
all right.
the bottle. Yeah. So we, anyways, after 3 more days in the hospital, Sarah ended up spending 3 more days in the hospital.
And you guys went to Tampa General.
Yeah, they
moved
sent her
to a
by
different hospital.
ambulance. Sent her by ambulance to TGH, Tampa General Hospital, which was, we're in Dade City, all the way to Tampa, Davis Island, pretty much, and they ran the gamut on her. They took an echocardiograph, I think is what it is, of her heart, make sure her heart's not enlarged, and come to find out she just had they call it postpartum preeclampsia, which is like just high blood pressure, and then if it doesn't go away within the year, then it's called hypertension or chronic hypertension.
Yep.
Getting a thumbs up from the doctor, so
Yeah,
you're
so I
saying
think
the right things.
Yes. But they have her on a diuretic now. And it's
treatable, right? There's that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
kind of the takeaway is
it's treatable, right? And so right now they have her on a real light diuretic and for her blood pressure, and they're going to reconvene on Monday, I think, on Friday. So it's Wednesday now. They're going to reconvene on Friday to see if the medication is good or if we need to change it. Or
it's Tuesday, but you're a dad, so I'll forgive you.
Tuesday, yeah, it's Tuesday. So that's the that's like the delivery drama of Baby B.
Definitely some drama, sleepless
Other
nights,
than
heartache,
that-
and that sort of thing.
Baby B is a very, very, very content baby. He makes
Well, he looks very
noise.
content. He came back. He's got a bottle. I mean, what more could he ask for?
So you'll watch him. You'll see him during this whole catching up section. He'll finish this. He's 2 weeks old and he's drinking 4 ounces every bottle. He's
damn.
really putting it. He's putting it down. He's also shitting it out. But
Well, it's got to go somewhere.
it's got to go somewhere. He is. You'll watch him. He'll finish that bottle, and then he'll just like lay there. He's fine. He wakes up. We've got him now. It's been 2 weeks. He's 2 weeks old tomorrow, and he wakes up once in the middle of the night, which is good. He's starting to learn like the rhythm. What do they call that, Enrique? Your sleep rhythm.
Circadian rhythm, or
Yes,
like the
yeah.
lightweight.
Yeah, he's starting to learn that. It's really cool too because he's it's really fascinating to watch his alertness, to track noises and to track movement with his eyes and just watch how his brain develops. It's really, I don't know, I think it's really cool. But anyways, he likes to eat and he likes to poop. He also likes cartoons. We've watched a lot of cartoons. But yeah, Baby B is here and it's transformative. People say things about parenthood and they say how, it changes the way you think. And I had a conception of I've always been real nervous about newborns because they're always floppy and they have no muscle control and they just seem really delicate. And now granted he's a pretty chonky baby, but I feel I always said we can have a baby, and I'm just looking forward to toddler stage, when they can talk and start to enjoy things, and
Then they can move too.
right in that way. And this stage right here has it's really grown on me in a big way, just because he just I don't know. Oh, buddy. He's just a baby,
He's just a baby.
He's just a baby. I don't know, man. Being a parent is it's going to be a wild ride. There's a lot of things that are going to come up down the way. but I have to say I'm very, very, very excited for all of them. I don't know. It's just a real cool experience. I don't really know how to describe it. Like you have all the emotions at once. Like you're scared. Like am I going to do right by him? Am I going to I got to make sure that he's healthy, and I can barely take care of myself. And this and that.
Can't just feed him Burger King all the time. What do I do?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. What do I do? But then like you're also excited and this and that, and then you start to pick
Figure
up
it out, right?
Yeah. Well, it's really cool because all he does right now is like grunt or cry or what have you. But then you start
He tells
to
you
pick
how
up,
he's
like,
feeling.
yeah, but you pick up on the different like the way his body moves or like the tone of his cry, and like okay, he needs burping or he needs food or he's uncomfortable or whatever. You can pick up on these like little just the way he tries to communicate, which is interesting. I don't know. The whole thing is wildly awesome. I suggest both of you guys do it. It's a very cool process.
All right, be right back.
Typically takes two to make a baby.
It takes two, right? Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, you can always adopt, but
Sure, very true.
That's true.
But when you're married,
but,
then even that takes two.
that's true. Anyways, he's a fun little baby. He's very content. I feel like we have it very lucky. We talked to the other parents, that we know and their experience, and for him to be 2 weeks in, waking up one time during the night, and the first 2 or 3 days it was every other hour. Sarah says, I don't know if you guys got that.
Yeah, you guys were pretty sleep deprived and miserable.
We were pretty sleep deprived, and then when Sarah went back to the hospital, that was also another thing.
That didn't help.
Also, the air conditioning broke one night. That was a thing.
Your internet was
luckily,
out earlier today. It's been a whole thing.
One thing after the other, but it's spent 2 weeks at home, which I've never had a 2-week staycation. Hasn't really felt like a staycation for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a staycation, but
more like probably.
Hey, it's not working though.
I feel like it's felt like a staycation for probably 2 days, maybe 3 days, like an extended weekend.
okay.
And that's been good. And we're to the point now where, like, after 2 weeks, he's waking up once in the middle of the night. I feel like I can return to work. I don't know how anybody could do it earlier than that, unless their job is just radically different. But like it's been a radical change in our lifestyle and like our sleep cycles, and it is a change. But it's really cool. Just love him to pieces, man. He's got these fat old cheeks, and you can just you can just gobble them up. It's time for him to eat again. All right.
He's hungry.
That was only an ounce. He's normally down.
He's
for
got three more. He's got 3 more to go.
This milk, I like it. Another.
Yeah, he likes the milks. I'll take the
man.
See if we can go feed him. Is it this here?
Hi guys.
So aside from Baby B, not aside from Baby B, while Baby B has been in our custody.
Baby B going bye-bye. Bye.
That was Baby B, guys.
Oh, man. Look, no offense, Enrique. Baby B might be my favorite guest we've ever had on.
Oh, baby's pretty great.
No, I'm just kidding. You guys are both great.
Enrique's met Baby B in the flesh.
I did, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
He's like
I'm going to get down there at some point in the near future.
He's like 3 days old.
I'll get down there.
It's true. Yeah, he was quite new.
Yeah. Fresh from the womb.
But he's a snuggly little guy. Like he's just real cuddly and oh man, he's just perfect. Everybody says their own kid's
I
think
think he sounds a little upset right when you said that, but
Yeah, he's hungry.
He's just hungry. He's hungry. He's pissed off. Give him his milk. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, he's a hungry little guy, but we were convinced like that we have to acknowledge if our baby's goofy looking. Like maybe like it's
hey man, newborns can be, they usually
quite goofy.
They usually, kind of, once they get a couple months, they're like, all right, that's
They
a cute
can grow
baby,
into it. Yeah. Sure.
but,
And then
but right at the outset, like,
goofy babies can grow into cute adults, and I do feel like we had a pretty cute little baby though. Like he's a pretty cute little guy.
Got them cheeks.
Yeah, he's got those big old cheeks. Oh god, his cheeks are so big. Really gonna miss him a lot when I go to work. It's really gonna be
sure.
I feel like it's probably gonna be a
strap
bigger
him to your
transition.
chest, carry him around.
Right, it's true. Yeah, well, at least when he's a little bit older, if he can.
Yeah,
carry
maybe
his
not
head,
right
I won't
away.
Not
right away. Yeah, maybe not.
But I have been preoccupying my time in between shit changes and bottle feeds.
You and Baby B been watching some stuff?
Yeah,
playing some stuff.
Baby, he will watch. He's not big on
Fast X.
everything.
Wasn't a big fan of Fast X.
Yeah, he
took after
that's why I
Dad in
had
that
to stop
respect
3 times, but yes. But
got to teach him young, Said the magnets were better in the last one, so I'll show that to you when you're a little older and you'll appreciate it.
Man, I'm just real excited to start sharing the stuff with him. I really am, all of them. We'll go to the movies when he's older. I'm real excited. But anyways, I kicked off all of this with this is in really no particular order, I guess, but I watched The Greatest Showman for the first time.
Okay. What did you think? Liked it? Huge jacked man.
I think he was good. I think
Zac
it was
Efron, Zendaya.
I think it's like a 75%, 80% movie for me.
Okay.
Didn't quite fire on all.
Good music. Good music, like better than the movie itself. I feel like is how
correct.
How I felt about it.
The music was better than what the movie was. I think. The music was really quite good. Actually, I think the music was pretty great. But I thought the movie was kind of like lackluster. It was I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite movie. At one point, I did get sucked into. I think I went over to Sarah's parents' house, and there was like this. There was a Yellowstone marathon going on. And I started season when I got there. The beginning of Sarah's dad was watching it, and it was the beginning of season 3 of Yellowstone.
So you just jumped right into it.
Yeah, it was on TV.
Unimportant.
It was on.
I'm in.
I'm gonna watch it.
This is a park.
I did watch. I watched 4 episodes of the first season, so I knew
Who's who?
I generally knew the characters.
Yeah.
Season 3 Yellowstone's pretty fucking great. I mean, that's really good. I would like to maybe watch it from the beginning.
So you think you'll work backwards now and be like, all right, I'm treating seasons 1 and 2 as prequel seasons.
That's right. But season 3 was pretty great. Really enjoyed it. I ended up watching the whole season, that whole day. It was over the span of literally all day. Pretty great. I also watched Pitch Perfect over the past 2 weeks. And it was pretty cool. It was all right, it's pretty, it was, I laughed at a couple spots. Other spots was this movie's quite old, isn't it? It just ages differently.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But it was all right, it was pretty okay. I watched Finding Nemo, which is pretty fun.
Nice.
Okay.
Stephen and Haley came over. I think on Saturday, I want to say, after Baby B came, and they brought over Haley brought over these 2 totes full of raw materials for food, and she cooked us shrimp and grits and waffles and all sorts of shit. And and her son is a big fan of Finding Nemo right now, and so we turned on Finding Nemo, and him and Baby B watched Finding Nemo. Well, not him and just Baby B, myself included. We all watched Finding Nemo. We also watched WALL-E. I watched WALL-E again, which was
okay. Yeah. So you're reminding me. Are you crying in every one of these movies that you're watching, or just most of them?
Did not cry. I did not cry in Finding Nemo.
Okay.
I did get a little teary and Wally.
Yeah, I mean Wally's a good one. So
Wally's so good. Wally is such. I think
I haven't
Very
seen Wall-E
underrated.
in ages.
Yeah, it's a great
dude,
film.
Wally
I should
is
rewatch that.
Wally
I should
is
rewatch it.
fucking excellent.
I should
And
have a
don't
kid.
think-
Then I'm going to bust out all the back catalog.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't think that Wally gets made every time, right? Like if you were to repeat alternate universes on end, I don't think Wally always gets greenlit, right? Just because it's so radically
maybe not.
different.
It's a weird
quiet
story,
movie.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, man, what a movie. But very, very, very good. It's such a heartwarming movie. It's awesome. One of my favorites. Also, for the first time, I watched Finding Dory.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you had to
Also
follow
good.
up Finding Nemo.
Yep. That's a good one. It's totally good.
Yeah, it's good.
Very valid entry into the franchise. I thought it was great.
And there was like enough time separating them that it was like, yeah, why not have a Finding Nemo sequel?
Mm-hmm.
This is fine.
Yeah. Totally okay. We watched Sarah had never seen any of the Indiana Joneses.
Oh.
Okay.
So we watched Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And we watched that actually in her return to the hospital. That we were in this postpartum room, and it was a room that had been converted to a postpartum room. So it was like one of those old school hospital rooms that had two TVs and two beds and that sort of thing. But it was only dedicated to one person since it was now a postpartum room.
So you got
anyways,
to post up on bed too.
That's right. I got to post up on bed too. I queued up both movies, timed them
Nice.
perfectly in sync. And in hospitals, for some reason, like you have to watch the fucking movies like with your remote speaker.
Yeah.
The remote has a speaker on it, which is horseshit. Anyways, I queued them both up, and I turned both of those little fucking remotes to full volume, and it was almost like we had
It's a little theater environment.
like a little speaker bar situation.
Surround sound.
Ad hoc theater.
Yeah. But we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I actually fell asleep when she finished it. She said
Nice.
the ending was absolutely nuts.
Oh yeah, it goes full.
Full craziness. But we got back to the house, and we watched Temple of Doom, and she wasn't as into Temple of Doom.
Well, you know, who is?
Temple of Doom's a little... It was my first entry into the Indiana Jones franchise, and
Look,
So
it's
it's
not.
got
It's
some-
not. It has not aged well though.
it's definitely not worse, but it definitely has not aged well. That's very true.
Yeah.
It's real cringy. For most of the movie, it's actually pretty cringy. Anyways, I watched a new animated feature called. It's not a feature; it's actually a show. But called Star Wars: Tales of the Jedi.
Oh.
Yes. No.
I actually have not,
Sucking
yeah.
on the Star Wars animated front. I still haven't watched Visions either, so I'm just totally slacking.
Well, Visions is incredible, and I will say that Star Wars: Tales of the Jedi is really good.
Because there's some Ahsoka stuff and Dooku stuff. Is there other stuff in that than those two characters?
It's mostly Ahsoka and it's mostly Dooku. But I feel like it's mostly Dooku.
Okay.
And
Dooku.
the mostly Dooku stuff is very compelling. Like it's really cool. Like it sheds a lot of light on that character. And I don't know. I really thought it was very good. Sarah has not seen past Prisoners of Azkaban for Harry Potter.
Oh,
right,
shit!
yes.
What?
Okay, you guys are doing your Harry Potter film marathon. Well,
That's right.
Have you seen them all?
I've
She
seen
hasn't
them all.
seen. You've seen them all,
hasn't
but
seen
she
them.
hasn't. Okay.
Right.
Wasn't sure. You told me about this the other day. I wasn't sure who had seen
Yeah,
what.
so during her repeat hospital visit, we watched Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and that kind of kicked it off. We watched that when I first got to the hospital, and then we watched Indiana Jones. But when we got back home, we watched Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, and Goblet of Fire. And now we're, I think, what's the next one? Half-Blood Prince, I think.
Order of the Phoenix is 5.
Order of the
Order of
Phoenix.
Phoenix is 5, yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So that's the one that we started last night, but we didn't finish. So we're grinding those out. I will say, like for a review on these movies so far. So, like I said, I'm through Goblet of Fire. It's interesting to watch the tone of these films kind of change as they progress. We watched Goblet of Fire with some friends that came over on Sunday, and Louis brought up an interesting point. As the Dark Lord progresses in strength, the tone of the films get darker.
Yeah,
I think
as the kids get older too.
As the kids get older, right? Everything kind of gets a little bit more moody. And so I think that's an interesting take, because Sorcerer's Stone is looking back, I never thought it was one of my favorites, but I do really appreciate the kind of like just magical and kind of like lightheartedness of the first film. I think that I think it's really something special. But so far through those 4 films, I think Prisoner of Azkaban's probably my favorite. Gary Oldman is just a total fucking boss. Like I just want more Gary Oldman in all movies. I think I would just be very happy with Gary Oldman in all movies. He's one of my favorite for sure. Anyways, so we're through Goblet of Fire. We'll see what the next ones hold.
Halfway there. Well, a little more than if he started Order, but
true.
Yeah, Goblet of Fire was okay. Prisoner of Azkaban, I really like Prisoner of Azkaban. And then Sorcerer's Stone. Chamber of Secrets was just kind of like meh, but I do know that this next one has that bitch. What's her name? The one that all the
Umbridge.
Oh my god, she's a total bitch.
Oh yeah, get ready. Insufferable. Just
terrible.
one of the most hateable characters ever written and brought to life, in film as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. I did watch. I finally watched and finished Inside Out.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Oh my!
That
goodness,
brought the
my heart.
waterworks.
Off multiple times. It was relentless. Oh my gosh, what a movie! Oh my gosh, what a movie!
What's the what's the little clown guy's name? Or the elephant? Sorry, not the clown. The elephant.
Oh, the elephant.
the imaginary friend.
Yeah. What's his name?
I can't remember his name.
When he disappears.
Oh my gosh, he started losing an arm. He lost an arm. He's like, we're just gonna do it one more time, and they go and he jumps off. I just started.
That was rough.
And Sarah looks over at me, and she. There was a brief period after she delivered that she was. I would say that she may have been as emotional as me, but those hormones have quickly fallen off, and now she just looks at me while because Inside Out wrecked me. That was, oh my gosh, what a movie. I can't believe I hadn't seen that sooner. I know everybody's been telling me to see it, but it's really, really something special.
Yeah.
I also finished Cunk on Earth.
Jesus Christ!
I don't know how you remember all this.
So many things.
I'd write them all down.
He wrote it out in advance. That's the way to do it.
Okay.
Cunk on Earth. I watched that.
We started watching that actually after you showed us. That's pretty hilarious.
Did you really?
Oh,
You
sorry,
did.
what is this?
I feel good. There's sometimes I watch comedies. I'm like, I don't know
It's
if
so
anybody.
dumb.
I don't know if anybody else enjoys this.
It's so dumb. I really enjoyed it.
Cunk on Earth's pretty. I thought it was pretty hysterical.
It's on Netflix.
I laughed at a lot. It's like a mockumentary on like the history of civilization and stuff. Very, 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 very stupid. But I think it's well written enough to be funny. I think it's very funny.
Yeah.
I finished Shadowish Self, which is a
reading.
Brandon Sanderson novel, the second in the Wax and Wayne series. And I've started Bands of Mourning, which is the third entry in the franchise. I have finished Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I think that's the name of the second game anyways. I finished the second Star Wars game, which was very cool. And I am nowhere near finishing Zelda, but I have dabbled in Zelda. I've played it a little bit. And with that...
Busy man.
And all of that was in between poops and pees and feeding and sleeping.
Just
some good
general,
breaks.
dad responsibilities.
That's it.
That's it.
Yep. A lot of things.
Back to the old grind before long,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But
Yeah. That list will go down from a million things. Down.
yeah, next time we
It'll
even
be
if
just
we
work
probably
and
won't record
pooping
for
and
another
peeing,
couple
yeah.
weeks, but still be shorter, I'm sure. Yeah. All right. Well, you've been up to a lot, is what you'd say.
Yeah.
Sounds
Been up
like
to a
it.
few things. Being a dad and whatnot. In case anyone forgot.
Papa Meadows.
All right.
I showed up at
Papa
the movie
Meadows,
theater.
indeed.
AMC has this special drink where they make a drink with Pop Rocks. I don't know if you've seen this at the McGuffin's bar. Do you have a McGuffin's bar up there?
We do have a
but
McGuffin's
I've
bar.
never ordered anything with
They're-
a pop rocks.
Yeah, usually just
Yeah.
stick with the overpriced beer.
Yeah. Well, they have this. I didn't get it, but they have this drink with Pop Rocks, and I think they call it Paparazzi. And when I went to watch
okay.
Spider-Man, I was looking at the drink menu, while they were making the person in front of me's drink. And I told my sister, I said, "Oh, they call me Paparazzi now." And the lady
Dad jokes have already started.
Oh yeah, peak dad joke time.
That's what the lady at the bar said. She goes, "Oh, you're definitely a dad now." So it's funny. Anyways,
All right. Well, I'm gonna hand the floor over to you, Enrique.
Sure.
We had you on recently
Yeah.
obviously, for Guardians, although to be fair, that was probably a month ago at this point.
It's a good chunk, yeah.
So yeah. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, been eventful time for sure, and I'm not gonna get like super into it, today. I've kind of already talked about things, but I think I did get to go down and see the Andrew, Sarah, and the baby, which was very nice.
Yeah.
See him, in the flesh, get to hold baby B, and the best part is when he pooped. I just, Andrew just took care of it. Andrew and Sarah, I didn't have to.
This is
change
your
diaper
baby,
or
not
anything.
mine.
Yeah, it's not my responsibility. Exactly.
so many.
I am not a Spider-Man like character. This is your problem.
Right. This is your baby to deal with for the next at least 18 years, at the very minimum. But yeah, no, it's been a eventful time. I've seen this obviously Spider-Verse twice, and I think we're talking about a lot of the themes of the movie, and I'm sure Andrew's related a lot of the parenthood themes and everything in this, and the whole Spider-Man character, he's got a lot of things that he goes through, and it's all about the canon events of loss and everything. So I think, watching it the first time and then watching it the second time, especially since going through that and having lost my dad, you kind of watch the movie a little bit different, and it kind of hits, but it's something that we'd all been expecting, and in some ways is kind of a relief to kind of have things end and know that he's in peace and everything. But obviously it's hard to go through and then get back to regular life. But he didn't introduce me to Spider-Man or anything like that, but we definitely had watched a lot of the movies, and I associate a lot of some of the quotes and things, and the great power comes great responsibility is something that he once told me. So it's some ways it feels like a canon event, but it's something that you go through and hopefully you keep going on. But I think that's kind of one extra reason that the movie really, really hit with me. But I think anyone can kind of see themselves in Miles, see themselves in Gwen, see themselves in Peter, and kind of go through that. So, we're all doing okay as well as can be back in Philly now. Mom's back in Florida, sisters between New York and Florida, but we had family around, which is great. Super thankful, and a lot of love and support from friends and family all over. So doing what we can and trying to enjoy the positive things going from there. So that's kind of where we're at from there, and something that I'll think about and I think just makes me appreciate these kind of storytelling and things, both for the escapism, but also when it does get a little bit real too, it's kind of makes it relatable to the story.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, that's kind of obviously the big thing, and try to occupy my time with other stuff. Been dabbling in the Zelda as well. I didn't start it right away. Eastline had gotten it like day one, and I had some stuff to do, but I've probably put a good like 50 hours, I would guess, into it. I haven't looked officially, but
A little more than dabbling, maybe.
yeah, that's what I would guess. So I've gotten through the main tutorial island, and I gotten through one of the dungeons temples, and otherwise just been exploring, doing kind of open world Zelda things, and it's pretty great. I think if you like Breath of the Wild, you're gonna be a fan of this one, and they improve a lot of the things, and you just have to become a mechanic apparently to play this game, because you have to build like helicopters and airplanes and machines and things. But it's a real fun game, and I feel like you could play this as a dead end, because you can definitely, on the Switch, like pick it up, put it down. It's a nice, like, you can do a couple hours into it. Or
the combat's hard.
Yeah, I think in the beginning when you have 3 hearts and you come across like a 3-headed lizard, then you're probably gonna die. But it's I feel like I've gotten better at the combat. I felt good about it in Breath of the Wild, and then I hadn't played that in forever. But then you also just get more hearts, better armor, all the in-game stuff. And aside from that, I haven't watched too much. We did start Beef, the Netflix A24 this miniseries show, whatever you want to call it, and it's pretty great. It's sometimes you laugh at like how absurd everything is. It's like
definitely dark humor.
It's a dark humor, yeah. It's a dark humor kind of situation. It's very entertaining. It's very different. I feel like I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It seems like a novel. It's kind of like set up as a rom-com, but it's just these two people creating conflict with each other, and we're not finished with it, but quite enjoyed what I've seen. So that's been kind of the main things. It's like we haven't had too much other time to go through with everything else, but two good things that kind of keep occupied with the time.
Yeah. Well, before I fully go, transitioning in a completely different direction, I think just wanted to say I'm really sorry for your loss. And I'm happy that you're able to come on, be part of this episode, and, we can share the space to talk about Spider-Verse and obviously things that bring us a lot of joy. But I know it's a difficult time for you, and,
Yeah, no, appreciate it. And, I think it's helpful in some ways to watch things that you enjoy, talk about things you enjoy.
Like you said, escapism, but
just coming together, man. Coming together hopefully helps a little bit.
Yeah, enjoying the good stuff.
It's tough. You got little baby B, hopefully brought you a little joy. I can't wait to see him myself. It's just I don't know, getting older and life.
Getting older just kind of sucks.
Just, hits you in unexpected and difficult ways.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything, that's going to make any difference, but I just wanted to say that. So,
appreciate it.
On my end, just to, like I said before I transitioned in a completely different direction, been doing a lot of Star Wars on my end.
Nice.
I've done a few things, and I did the same thing. I tried to map them out a little bit in advance just to keep track of things. We think we're pretty much done with our Star Wars rewatch. So I think we had watched The New Hope last time we recorded, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the last times. But since then, we've watched Empire. We did Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, and Rogue One. Those are the ones that we kind of like wanted to do this year. Rogue One was the only one where I was really kind of like, oh, I really want to rewatch this because I haven't seen it in a few years. I just finished Andor a few weeks ago. So Rogue One's really it's a badass movie. It's a really cool movie, and definitely holds up. Obviously, like
Vader sequence
the Vader stuff is like the most hypest shit possible, and and the Tarkin and Leia stuff is a little wonky still, but But yeah, it still holds up. Obviously, the others do too. Maybe Revenge of the Sith to a lesser extent. It's never been a favorite of mine, despite being the best of the prequels. But yeah, that's Star Wars, man. At the end of the day,
The whole
even
way
if I'm
that
half
frigate
watching,
just like gets released. They pull the thing and the frigate just rolls out.
Yeah.
Oh man, so fucking cool.
That's
Anyways,
very cool. That's very, very cool.
I need to watch it.
But outside of Star Wars stuff, I haven't played any of the game yet. That's going to come at some point down the line. We've been like just all over the map in terms of just watching stuff, just absolutely bizarre. So the biggest thing that we've been watching, which has been kind of like our show to watch recently, Anna and I, has been the Newsroom, which I think I talked about. I think we started it last. We talked about Guardians, but we're like, fully into it. We finished the first 2 seasons. We are a third of the way through the third and final season of it. It's pretty good. It's not amazing. It's an Aaron Sorkin show, is probably what I said last time, and I'll say it again. It's got the best of Aaron Sorkin and Aaron Sorkin at his lowest. It kind of oscillates between those two extremes. And it usually operates kind of somewhere in between, where it's like pretty good and pretty fun, and pretty entertaining, but sometimes it gets a little too up its own ass. And then there are some times where it's a little up its own ass, but in a good way, in a fun sort of like preachy sort of way, which I enjoy. So as like a binge watch sort of thing, it's been pretty entertaining. It's usually taking a spin on like actual news stories that happened in the past decade. So like the third season kicks off with coverage of the Boston Marathon bombing. So it's like, it can get into pretty close to real life territory, which your mileage may vary in terms of whether that's something that would appeal to you or not. But it is an interesting kind of retrospective in some ways on some pretty major events. And like that episode was dealing with like the Reddit theorists who were trying to track down the suspects before they had been identified, and they identified 2 wrong suspects. And basically the whole idea is like, hey, just because the internet can do something doesn't mean that they should do something, like don't harass these 2 people who literally had nothing to do with this whole thing, because your whole thing is you want to solve the mystery or solve the thing yourself. So I don't know, kind of interesting, but it's good. It's on Max, old Max,
Max
streaming service Max, which fucking sucks ass, in case anyone's wondering. It's a pile of dog shit that doesn't work right. I don't know if you guys have the same issue, but because they added the commercial breaks, it has like weird cuts every 5 minutes. Like I watch it without ads, but it basically like the screen like flashes black, and then you see like the progress bar pop up every time there's supposed to be a commercial break that they've inserted into a show that isn't supposed to have commercial breaks. Anyway, I don't like Max. I think it sucks, and I think the ad plan, I think the payment plans and the payment tiers are all dumb and bullshitty, but whatever. And we get it free through Anna's AT&T, so we'll stick with that for now. Other than that, the next 3 things all tie together in a weird sort of way. So, it's not that weird. Anna was called for jury duty a few weeks ago, and so she reported for jury duty, and she sat waiting to determine whether she would be called as a juror for hours and hours and hours. And apparently, in the Philadelphia like juror room, they have a bunch of TVs which are set to Game Show Network. So while she was waiting and waiting and waiting, she watched a lot of game shows. And so, she decided, once she was done, she didn't get selected as a juror. Oh, well, she got to go home that afternoon. But her love for game shows would burn on. And so we watched the most recent season of Celebrity Jeopardy, which it's like a tournament format, basically, is how it's set up, and it's like mostly like B and C list celebrities. Like there's some some people that are like fun to have on, like Patton Oswalt was on, and
nice.
Like fun celebrities, but like no one like that
sure,
like big or anything
not as
like
many
that.
A-list.
Most seemed like it's one that's hosted by Maya Bialik, so it's not Ken Jennings that's hosting it, and it felt like there were a lot of celebrities who were like, you were on I have a podcast, and Mayim, you were a guest on my podcast, and you asked me to be on the show, and I said, I guess. And so it kind of worked out. But anyway, it was really entertaining. So we watched all the episodes of Celebrity Jeopardy, burned through that pretty quickly, and it was very fun. Maya, she's no Alex Trebek, but who is? She grew on us. She was fine. But yeah. Enjoyed Celebrity Jeopardy. It's streaming on Hulu if anyone is in the mood for a Jeopardy sort of thing. And then after that, because we wanted to watch a certain show called Jury Duty, Anna told me that, it's a show that features James Marsden in a very prominent capacity. She had, I think, listened to an interview with James Marsden, and he said, I guess he was talking about some of his roles, and she basically said one of the required viewings before we start Jury Duty was watching Hairspray, because he kind of plays, kind of a pompous kind of character. He's like a talk show host, I think.
I haven't seen it forever.
So she said we should watch Hairspray.
Okay.
It's also streaming on that shitty service Max. So we watched it. It's pretty good. Some good music in there. It's got John Travolta, being ridiculous, and it's good. I had fun with it. It was a fun musical.
We saw John Travolta's yacht in the port of St. Pete. Yeah.
No, okay, that's pretty cool.
Keeps at least one of his yachts over there.
I believe he, at least once upon a time, resided in Ocala, because I think he's also like, he's got like,
he likes the Scientology bits,
joining the airport. Yep, he's got that going for him too. But anyway, watched Hairspray, enjoyed it, and then we did start Jury Duty, but we're only one episode in. And the first episode was pretty funny, and we'll continue watching it. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that, is just starting on that. So my last thing that I will say, Enrique kind of recommended it to you off air at some point. We don't really do music a whole lot. We do video games occasionally, but Foo Fighters put out a new album, which is the first album since their drummer Taylor Hawkins died, since Dave Grohl's mom Virginia died, and so the album is really just dealing with grief and loss. And it's an album called But Here We Are, and it's I think it's one of the best albums they've put out in a decade. And it, Foo Fighters, okay, kind of dad rocky sort of thing, sort of up Andrew's alley, I guess, in that way, you might say. But this album is just it's a heavy hitter, really, really powerful stuff, and just really good lyricism. The musicianship it just feels like they've kind of taken it to the next level, and it's Dave that does the drums on the whole album, which is just is really, really cool. I mean, obviously he is kind of a drummer first and foremost, and it just kind of, it feels like the appropriate move for him to kind of step behind the kit. But I really highly recommend it. I mean, I'm someone that enjoys the Foo Fighters, and I've liked a lot of Foo Fighters stuff, forever. But this to me feels like hanging out with Wasting Light in terms of just top tier Foo Fighter stuff. So yeah, But Here We Are. Got it on a vinyl. I got the white vinyl, which plays great on my little player that Andrew got me. So, yeah, and Queens of the Stone Age putting out an album pretty soon.
Oh yeah,
like a few days.
For the tour.
So looking forward to that as well. But yeah, that's it for me. Going up to Vermont for some time in the near future. But yeah. So I think that's everything I've been up to. Oh, I have Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but I haven't started it yet. So
you should probably finish Breath of the
I have been bouncing around Breath of the Wild, getting used to the combat, used to the world again a little bit, and I have been like rewatching the memories so that I can then kind of just jump into Hyrule Castle and not totally get my ass kicked and be able to beat it. Yeah. And then I will move over to Tears of the Kingdom. That is the plan. So, are we ready to wrap this up? Are we ready to tie this one up in a nice bow and say goodnight to everyone at home? Let Andrew get back to Baby B. Everyone get back to their lives. Probably just get some sleep at this point.
I was going to say, see if Andrew. We'll see if Andrew gets any sleep. Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing over there. He's got his own. He's got his own. Plan for everything.
He's got more diapers to change.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and say thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you want to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/watchofyourrepeat, you can get early access to all of our regular episodes, timed exclusive access to all of our bonus episodes that we maybe work on at some point. Early access is really helpful, especially recently when editing schedule has been kind of all over the place. The Guardians episode took several weeks for me to finally get it out into the world. This one may be the same. We'll see. But you know, if you want to support us, it's only $2 a month. We certainly appreciate the support. Enrique is in fact a supporter of us, so we appreciate his support. Yeah, our website's watchofyourrepeat.com. If you want to follow our socials, you see that little picture of Baby B that went up on there that I mentioned however many hours ago. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/watchofyourrepeat, on Instagram at watchofyourrepeat, and then on Twitter at WRRpod. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, tips for Andrew on how to be a good dad, being a dad for dummies, if you want to send him a book or whatever, just send all that our way. watchofyourrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track, it's Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod and Incompetech.com. Licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Before we fully sign off, Enrique, thank you for coming on, talking Spider-Verse. Obviously sharing a little
Thanks
bit
for
about what's
having
going
me,
on in your life with us. Like I said, it's really nice to have you on here.
No, thank you all for having me as always, and it's good to come on, and especially with this movie and everything.
It's a damn good movie.
Yeah.
You don't need another recommendation, but seriously, go see it. What are we going to cover next? Up in the air, I think. Elemental's out. The Flash is... Well, Elemental's about to be out. The Flash is about to be out. Those are coming out at the same time. Indiana Jones is the tail end of June. I mean, look, the honest truth of it is I'm going to be out of town for about a week.
Box office is back.
Yep.
I feel like it's like movie after movie now,
Oh, man, yeah.
Summertime.
Andrew picked a hell of a time to have a kid and just ruin the whole podcast. So we can't cover everything. But no, seriously, we'll cover some things. We'll be choosy. We'll find the right project, and we'll find the time to do it. But we probably won't record for another couple weeks, realistically. And who knows, it may just be another big monstrosity of an episode catching up on all the things that we're up to. But we'll figure it out. It's all work in progress. So we'll be back maybe the end of this month, early July, with something or another. I'll be gone. Andrew's going to be getting still used to dad life, but also work and dad life, which is, I don't know, still an adjustment as well. So we'll be back with something. Go check out the movies, and we'll check back in due time. So I think that's it for me. Andrew, I'm going to let you take it out.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.